Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need bad energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took a L, should've put it in the offering. Lord forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring now. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep.
What is going on, fam? Want to say what's up to the J crew. And you know, I love you guys. Okay, so I wanted to tackle this topic because it's something that, you know, is a subject that's dear to my heart. And I know a lot of people suffer with it. And that is just fear in general, the emotion of fear and how to get through it, basically, because it's something that we all, you know, struggle with. I personally have struggled with it in the past and sometimes still do because of PTSD from being a cancer survivor, you know, and it is not fun. It's not a fun place to be. You know, and there are ways to get around it. And it's so funny because I was doing my workout today, right? And one of the things that I expressed to you guys before, and it's so funny because Jen had a coworker that, and shout out to my lovely wife, Jen. She is currently in the shower, so she will not be joining us right now. Maybe she'll get on. We're about to go get an oil change. Finally, Don't go past 3,000 miles with your car with the oil change. You know what I mean? It's just we haven't had one in a while, so it's time. But she says hi, and you know, I remember she had a coworker that she said one time was overexerting. She was practicing dancing or something like that. And she was overexerting herself. And I guess she's a little bit older. And she started having a panic attack, right? And typed in the chat to the rest of the group, because everybody works from home. This company she works for, and typed into the chat where other people could see, someone call 911 and send them to my address. Remember that song from Wyclef? Someone call 911. That was my song. And because she didn't know what was happening. And so she wanted to alert people to it and possibly get herself some help. But then after a little bit, she said, don't worry, don't, forget about it. Don't do it. I'm fine. Right. And I guess she overexerted and started feeling weird, on the inside. Like maybe she was having a heart attack or something. Well, I have struggled with that because I think, from what I understand, my dad back in the day had something similar to, or if not a full blown, and no, they're not, well, maybe I can reach out to my aunt, but had a heart attack at 30, I thought. And I was blessed not to go through anything like that, but I do have a heart murmur. So I inherited a heart defect, apparently, from my dad. And I remember the first time I knew, or I was told that I had it, I went for a checkup and the doctor's like, "Oh, you have a heart murmur." I'm like, what's that?" And I remember bringing it up to my grandma. She said, "Oh yeah, I remember when you were born, they said something was wrong with your heart." Hello? What? You never told me this? Oh yeah, by the way, you have a heart problem. But I'm kind of glad she didn't, because with the way that my mind took a weird turn, I would have probably taken it and ran with that, and probably caused myself to have issues throughout my life, which I never did and still don't to this day. But I know about it. And the PTSD can sometimes sneak in there and take over and try to inseminate thoughts that, okay, you're in the middle of a workout. Is your heart beating extra fast? Can you control it? Can you slow it down? Did you overexert? Are you overexerting? Are you going to have a heart attack in the middle of this workout? I believe Isaac Hayes went out like that on a treadmill, right? See what I mean? When you haven't lived that long, you don't have all of this past stuff to go off of that mind you. But once you've put some time in, things happen. You've seen news stories, you've experienced people around you going through things, you've gone through things, and there's a fear there because you've experienced things. And so you got something to be scared of, right? But you really don't. Because at the end of the day, let's come to the term that once it's over, it's over. You don't have anything else to worry about. You don't feel nothing, you don't hear nothing, see nothing, whatever, So really, what is there to fear? What really is it about death that you're afraid of? Is it the act of dying? Because once you're in the state of deceasedness, you no longer exist. You don't experience fear because there's nothing to fear because you're gone. So accepting, and yesterday we talked very deeply about acceptance. Accepting that is very hard but necessary. There will be a point in time where you no longer exist. Get okay with it. Wrap your mind around it and get okay with it. And the minute you begin to do that, take a deep breath with the thought and the feeling of it. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so where do we go from here? Now you're in the process of letting that fear go by dissipating it, melting it with acceptance. See, when you accept, you can't have both. If you accept the fear, then it's no longer fear, right? If you accept it, you've dissolved it. It is no more. You can't be afraid and accept at the same time. So, I found myself, as much as I subliminally feed my brain and subconscious at night, it is still a daily struggle to minimize this PTSD that I have. And some days I have really good days and some days I have bad days. And today is a mixture of the two because I started having some, and I do have a off heartbeat. Well, we know I don't go to doctors. Now, sometimes some people might say, well, if you go to a doctor, maybe you might alleviate that. Maybe he can give you a pill. Maybe he can, because I've had tons of EKGs and they've all come back clean, in the past when I've gone for something else. So, I know, and I'm doing workouts. I've worked out consistently for years, never passed out, never had a heart attack. So I realize with the training that I've given myself that my mind is fucking with me, as it normally does, as all of ours does, especially when it comes to death. So, because that's an innate fear that we all have. That's the pinnacle, Elizabeth, this is it. You know what I mean? And so I went through one of my little, heart situations today during my workout, and I was having an extremely cool workout. And the funny thing is, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. This happened. Okay. Now, those of you that have seen Harry Potter, the Harry Potter series, know what this is a scene of. Okay. This is Expecto Patronum. This is Dementors. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some metaphoric stuff here. We're going to replace Harry Potter, or the story of that, with the Dementors being our worst fears, which honestly in the movie I do believe they represent. Okay, because every time they come around, usually it was because Harry was scared of something, right? Or he was experiencing an overwhelming feeling of fear. So the Dementors represented the thoughts and ideas and the actual fears. And what they would do were they were black ghosts would appear above him. And then once they got closer to him looking at that like, holy shit, what is that? They would feed off of that fear. And you would see them literally sucking the life out of him and he would pass out, right? And that's what fear does. It debilitates you. It sucks the life out of you. And that's what the Dementors represented in this movie. But I'm here to let you know we all have real life Dementors. We all have that thing that we're afraid of. Well, we all have an innate fear of death, but there are other things that happen throughout our particular personal lives that scare the shit out of us, that we have some type of PTSD or some type of trauma about. That we like, my wife's mom does not like going over bridges. She will not drive over a bridge. She'll ride in the car with you. You can do it, but she can't bring herself to drive over a bridge. Don't know why. Never really talked to her about where the root cause of that came from. But I always found that interesting, like why? Now somebody like me, I've driven across them. I ride with Jen when we go back and forth across, the Key Bridge. And it's so cool because I love the view. I'm a water person. I love riding over water. I love scenes of water. That's why I live at the beach. And I love looking at the view, whether it be the sunset or early, it's a summer, whatever. But I love the view. I take it as a view experience. And wow, look at this. And we're elevating. This is really cool. Another person has a completely different experience. of, oh my God, let's not go over. Who knows? Maybe she knew someone that went over, which we do. You know, we know somebody that actually went over it in a semi, in an 18-wheeler. I remember hearing about it on the news and come to find out Jen's family knows the wife of the guy. And this happened years before she and I hooked up. So I'm like, wow, you guys knew that guy? I remember that. But that never caused that in me. You know, it's still, I can go over with no issues. But it's so funny how that can really, something can take over and completely destroy something that would be or could be a wonderful experience, right? That's what fear does. It does it to your life when you constantly let it creep in and take over and take you out of the moment that you're in so that you can actually live in that moment and experience all that there is to experience in that moment. It cheats you. Okay. So today during the workout, I started thinking about, okay, well, what's going on here? Let me X that out. You know how your computer gives you the whole little malware thing. Um, and I thought, you know what? I'm not gonna let this happen. But instead of resisting it, I accepted the feeling of fear. I realized, okay, I'm having one of those fears because felt like my heart skipped a beat. And it does that from time to time. But I've learned how to just go through that. And I know eurythmia is a dangerous thing. You don't want to play with it. But I'm a firm believer that when it does happen, we'll deal with it in the moment that it happens. Okay. Even though sometimes I tend not to do that. So here's the training. All of a sudden, though I had the thought, but then I'm like, oh, the fear is trying to creep in. Here's the fear again. You know what? I want to feel. How about feeling grateful for something instead? How about replacing that feeling with something else? Gratitude. And I started thinking of the word gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Replace it with gratitude. And all of a sudden, my mind started thinking of things to be grateful for, or things that I had done that I was grateful for, or something to conjure that feeling of gratitude. Well, here's what we learned in Harry Potter about that theory and about that technique. What he's doing in this picture here is a spell called Expecto Patronum, right? And that light that comes out of his wand, so when the Dementor is around, that provides a shield for him when he does that spell. And the Dementors feed on it and not him, right? And when the movie first begins, he has no idea of this spell. And he's taught it by one of his professors, who saw him pass out the first time, right? And so he teaches Harry how to defeat the Dementors with this spell. And Harry masters it. The first time he tried it, nothing happened. Nothing came out of the wand. The light didn't come out of the wand. All you have to do is chant Expecto Patronum. And so he starts saying it, and the professor told him how to make the light come out of the wand to become your shield. You have to think of a thought that makes you happy. Got to get in a happy place. Because think about it. What does the Dementor represent? It represents fear, negativity, anything that, you know what I mean? So if you get yourself in a happy place, you can overcome that fear. Well, Harry tried. He said, think of a happy memory, and that'll make the light come out of the wand. There has to be powerful, right? So Harry tried it, and it didn't work. And the professor asked him, well, what were you thinking about? And he said, well, the first time I rode a broom. And he said, well, that's not good enough. No, you need to match that level of fear with something just as powerful in your past, or something that you want to happen, but it needs to be a good feeling, but it needs to be just as powerful as that fear. So all of a sudden, he says, okay, let's try it again. Now, Harry's parents were killed when he was a baby. He couldn't even speak, right? And Harry says, let's try it again, right? All of a sudden, they let the fake Dementor that he's using to practice with out of the thing that was holding it back. And Harry pulls up the wand and says, Expecto Patronum, right? And you could see nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, with all of the base that he could muster, he says, Expecto Patronum. And you could tell that he meant that. He meant that shit. And all of a sudden, the light started protruding from the wand. And it was strong enough to create a shield around him that the Dementor fed on and then eventually went away. And the Dementors kept fucking with Harry because they knew he was afraid of them. They kept returning. Oh, he's a good one. He's really scared of us. Let's go get him. We got a lot of fear to feed on there, because fearful thoughts, and I'm going back into Eckhart Tolle here, your pain body that exists within you that thrives on that, loves those. It's like a Dementor. It feeds on those. Yeah, fearful thoughts. Yeah, let's be scared, right? Well, I'm here to tell you, you got to learn how to do Expecto Patronum, dude. You have to learn how to do Expecto Patronum internally and mentally. You need to learn that spell for yourself. What I did today when I was working out, I thought, I don't want to have this feeling right now. It's interrupting my workout. I'm not enjoying it. I wish I was feeling gratitude. And I'm like, wait a minute. Gratitude. And all of a sudden I thought about something that welled me up with gratitude. And I realized in that moment that I had just done Expecto Patronum. I didn't just replace the thought with another positive thought because that didn't work. It had to be a very, very, very strong feeling that replaced the feeling of fear. It had to match that. I had to think of something that overwhelmed me, just like the fear was doing, but for the good side. Something that, and you can make it whatever you want, something that you want to happen. Picture yourself riding around in a car you've always wanted, or picture yourself getting married, or picture yourself whatever it is that deep within you resonates, something that you have always wanted, or even more powerfully and even more effective is something that has already happened. Because you have to use you got to have a pretty powerful imagination to conjure up something strong enough to replace a fear that hasn't happened yet. But you could imagine yourself winning the lottery, but you see, because it's not real, it may not be powerful enough to overcome the fear. Go back in your history, and I'm sure everybody has some moment that was, wow, that was really amazing. Somewhere you got something that you can relive, that that you just were overwhelmed with joy. And that's what Harry did in that moment. He thought about his parents. And he said, nothing in particular. They were talking to me. It was a memory of me as a kid before they were killed, just being with my parents, because he missed them so much, you see. And any thought of his parents brought this overwhelming feeling of love over him. And love was what he used to defeat the Dementor or get rid of the fear. That was a very powerful thought that was able to conjure up a powerful feeling. See, the thought itself, don't try to, oh man, I'm scared of it. Don't try to replace a scary thought that's causing fear with just another positive thought. It has to be the feeling that you're replacing. Because think about it. The thought itself doesn't do shit. I think about stuff all the time that doesn't mean anything. So it doesn't conjure a feeling. It means something when it's conjuring a feeling. The Secret teaches that. I'm gonna finish up with, I'm not finishing the stream. I'm gonna let Jen, and I see she's ready. She's here. But I'm gonna finish that thought with, I thought of Jen. Jen's always my happy place because of how we met, how we get along. Yeah, I can pick any memory. There's a vision that hasn't happened yet of she and I both with long white hair sitting on a beach after having lived our lives, and we're older, and just like, hey, that's a crazy life, wasn't it? I don't know if it's us in death or what, but we're just kind of sitting on a beach holding hands, just relating, like, wow, we are really in a good place. I remember years ago we struggled financially, and it's a very powerful memory that is able to take me out of fear whenever I have it. Sometimes when she leaves the house, I have separation anxiety and I worry that she's not going to come back. That is one of my fears. Why? Because I've lost so many people in my life. She has the same thing that she struggles with, and I replace it with that, and it works every time. You'll come up with new ones, you know. Don't worry, you'll come up with new ones. You'll come up with um things in your past that you've forgotten that made you feel really good. But remember, it's got to be powerful, something that really resonates with you, not something just surface like the first time you drove a car. You know what I mean? Or something like that. It needs to be something that hits you really deep. The first time you maybe scored the winning shot in a game and you were the hero for months and months and months to come. Everybody talked about it. And the feeling you got when you did that. You know what I mean? It needs to be something powerful like that. The first time you kissed your soulmate, something huge that made you lose your mind with joy, because fear is a very powerful emotion. So you need a powerful thought that conjures a powerful emotion to combat that. And trust me, when fear comes, use this, practice it. Hey, honey,
Hello. Thank you for having me
how
in.
art thou?
I'm really enjoying this one because it's something that we even started talking about before the stream and couldn't stop talking about. So,
Hey, Janetta.
hi Janetta.
Sorry,
I didn't even see the comment. Um,
I just saw.
welcome. I think something that you said, like I had so much stuff here, I was trying to jot it down so I could not go all over the place because it was like so powerful. This one is really helping me a lot because I think most of what I've started dealing with once I reached like a little bit over 42, I guess, I started
Yeah.
that worry, which worry is fear pretty much.
Let me tell you something. Women out there, women with menopause, fears. Fear. I experience so much fear, and Jen and I help each other in that way a lot because she's going through it. I went through it when I was her age, and I can help her through it. So if you go through menopause and your hormonal changes happen, fears creep in there big time. Go ahead,
One
sweetie.
of the things you said earlier was about then when you feel like when he thought he had it, the Dementors, is that what you called them? I don't
Yes.
know as much about Harry Potter, but these thoughts will come at you harder sometimes. Like sometimes I'll feel like, I'm feeling good today. I'm not thinking something bad's going to happen, or maybe I'm not as worried as I normally am about um, you know, different things, worried about my family, worried about. And yesterday's stream made me realize that sometimes I'm so stuck in worrying that I'm not living in right now and enjoying right now, which is where I want to be. So
Yeah.
the part that you said of sometimes when fear gets a hold of you, it's like, oh wait, she's subjective to this, like, or I can really get her, and then, oh, you're trying to get away from it. You put that thought in. Okay, well, that's not good enough. I'm going to go harder at you. So the part about you saying it has to be a feeling, and an equally powerful feeling, really kind of resonated with me. And I thought about something. How interesting is it that sometimes our biggest fear parallels that other positive feeling? Because let's just say what you said earlier. If I'm afraid, that something's going to happen to you when you go out, That comes
Yeah.
from a place of loving you and that
Yeah.
powerful feeling of how great it is to be with you and have you here. Or like I think about, what I was talking about yesterday of losing um losing Nan at an early age makes me fear that something's going to happen. I don't want to feel that feeling again, but that came from, that comes from a lot of where my
PTSD.
fear and worry is. I worry about Brooke, and her health things. And that comes from a place of loving my mom, loving my sister, and wanting to hold on to them,
Yeah.
and so if we can take those fears, like you said, and replace that with that positive thought, with those positive feelings of, hey, think about this time when it was, I was spending time with you. And like we talked about yesterday, I love it at night when we settle in to like eat our vegan meal. So if I'm having a
Yeah.
negative thought, I can think about that and we're like, oh, everything's cool. We're chilling, we're watching TV. Think about that happy place. Think about being on the beach. But the thought isn't good enough. It has to be a feeling. And then you know how they say, like, even there's like a customer service quote about people never forget how you made them feel. They might forget what you said or what you did, but you'll never forget that feeling. That feeling's going to
Right.
last longer than just trying to like stick a positive thought in there. So I love
Right.
that advice. And like yesterday taught us to understand that, okay, I can't ignore the fear coming in. I can absorb it, feel it, punch it in your gut. You have to feel it for a second, and then you have to then
Acceptance.
accept it, and then come up with that just equally as positive feeling, so you can make that expectro patrono spell, and eventually you won't have to do that. Is what I'm hoping. That's
Yeah,
just going to
well,
happen.
you know what? And check this out. Accept the fact that it's always going to continue to happen.
Hmm.
And that way, the thought that, okay, I'm never going to get rid of this. Okay, let me go ahead and just deal with that thought and accept that and understand that I'm just going to have to come up with new things to refresh that and to use it and think about it as practice. Every time it happens. Now, the cool thing about it is, just because I said it's going to continue to happen doesn't mean you're not going to come up with a solution that works for you to deal with it. It is going to have, it's like life happens to you. You can't control that. So yeah, it is going to come. But when you get so good because you deal with it so much at practicing eliminating it with a even equally powerful feeling of love or gratitude or joy or whatever, abundance, whatever you want to use, some things that makes you feel good, you're going to get quick. You're going to get lightning fast to the point where as soon as that thought comes in, you're going to identify it coming at you before it even hits you and what's going to be waiting for it at the door. Already that good feeling, because you
Yep.
know this is something that would have triggered me. So let me get that feeling ready. Let me start thinking about it now. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Start thinking about it early and start preparing your mind and body to be in that place because it's like, oh, shit, that right there. Or, oh, I just witnessed something that is I know is triggering for me, so let me, or somebody just said something that I know is triggering, so let me go ahead and get in my place. Let me think of something now. Okay, and that, guess what, then your mind is busy doing what? Thinking of that good thing. It doesn't have time to give you fearful thoughts. You don't have time to be scared.
Right. And I've
You
got
keep
to
it
that
busy.
point. I could listen to anything. Like, it's weird how we change over time because, like, I could talk to somebody about something when I was, 25, 35, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even like when we first met, I was
Mm-hmm.
so laid back and I was always like, it's not that serious, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's not you.
And
Why
I
are
was
you
just entering the phase that you're in now.
self-identifying with that? Like now I hear somebody talk about any health thing they have and I start thinking, why did I hear that today? Does that mean is that going to happen to me? Is that going on in me? I mean, these thoughts just run all the way away from me. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I have to come to you sometimes and say, hey, you know what? I got to get this out of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just heard this and I know I'm being crazy, but I'm getting myself paranoid. And you're like, no, remember I used to do that. And you'll like help me come back around to it. And I'm like, why does my head go there? And like,
It's
literally, if I
natural.
had met myself 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, that lady's crazy.
She's a
Like
basket
she
case.
overthinking everything, and I'm like, okay, let you reminded me this morning. You're like, where just bring that person back out. But it's
She's
like
still in there. She'll be
the
back.
way that
She's
we
still in
talk
there.
about ourself, it's like that always brings me to that little revelation I had about when Eckhart Tolle said, like, who, I remember earlier you said when I was on the bike, I started thinking, oh, here it goes, here it comes. It's funny how we were talking the other night, how we all talk to ourselves in a sense, but like we're not like necessarily to that magnitude where we're talking to ourselves walking down the street and
I am.
answering ourselves. I kind of
I
am
have
too
full
in the
blown
room by myself.
conversations with
Maybe
myself
not on the street
sometimes.
just yet. I do in the grocery
Right, right,
store
right.
sometimes though. I saw a guy looking at me and I realized I was doing it and I was like, "Wait a minute, that one's a little bit bigger. Should I get that one?"
Hey, look, off topic a little bit. Remember when Bluetooth first came out and people would be talking on their phones to people and no one knew they're talking. It looks like they're talking to thin air, but they actually have somebody on the phone. And because there's no wires or anything, people are like, what the hell? But yeah.
I remember, like, I thought this would have been a good soundbite to have. What's his name saying? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Fear
That
itself.
is what you're
Yeah.
teaching us, and I love that. I love the whole story, like how Harry Potter relates. You've related this to the Matrix before too, haven't you? There's so many like
Mm-hmm.
things that are an analogy of preventing fear. I feel like there was something in Twilight too that Bella had that was um or someone it was like a shield almost. And I feel like that is when you
She
get to
was a
the point of
shield.
mastering it. I remember
Yeah.
seeing that in Harry Potter, how he had to really get that feeling behind it, and that's helping me to understand exactly what your message is here.
Yeah, because it's so cool. I'm glad that that's helping you. It helped me. It continues to help me. And hopefully, on the replay game, somebody will watch this that suffers with any type of fear that they deal with on a regular basis or PTSD and learns from it and picks it apart and dissects it and maybe even goes and watches the movie to see what it is that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Because, even though that's a child story, it's a very dark story in the fact that when he was a baby, his parents were killed. And then there's this wizard who is evil trying to basically take everybody out and rule the wizard world. And Harry, when he was a baby, some kind of way found a way to defeat him. Well, it turns out he was protected by his mother's love. At the end of the day, love overpowered the evil that was going on in the story. And we have to remember that if you're, and here's the thing, you may be somebody who feels like you don't have love in your life. You may be somebody who feels like, I don't have that to draw on. I don't have any experience like that to draw on. So I guess I'm just screwed. You know what I mean? But if you have an imagination, there's something in your life that gets you out of your head. You just have to find what that is for you. I don't have the answers to that. Only you do. But there's something that, and if there is nothing now, then goddamn it, create something. Maybe that means that there are things going on that you need to go find you. What makes you truly happy? Because if you don't have that place that you can reflect on or look forward to, because technically you got to live in the moment that helps you get through the moment, you know, there it is right there. Okay. What did we learn when we learned about living in the moment? Okay. Epiphany on air. Okay.
Saw it here
You
first.
Yeah, epiphany. One of the things we were learning was you can't focus on the past because it's gone, and you can't focus on the future because it hasn't happened yet. Be in the moment. Okay. So if you don't have, because this works both ways, if you're in the moment and you're experiencing the fear in the moment, sometimes you need to use clock time. And you got to listen to The Power of Now because he teaches all this. You got to use something that happened in clock time to draw on. If you don't have that, you need to try to be as present as you can in the moment, because you can't be present and have a thought about the past at the same time. And a way to get into the present is whatever you're doing, do it. Be there. Like if you're taking a shower and you're starting to have a panic attack in the shower, start to really get into how the water feels dripping on your skin, the temperature of it, the smell of the soap. Really take in everything that's happening, and that will pull you out of the thoughts that you're having, because you're not thinking, you're experiencing, you're being. Okay? Stop thinking so damn much, right? And I know this goes against everything I just said, but if you don't have a positive thought,
I want to say
you
one thing, that you were kind of right in both accounts, though, because the feeling is right now. The feeling you were
exactly.
having is in your present. So, like what you said, like you might have to draw off of that, if you're feeling like you need that feeling, because the feeling is now. The feeling wasn't then. If
Yeah.
it was
You're
then, but
experiencing that fear in this moment.
yeah, so you're experiencing fear of something that might happen, in the future, that's not real. And if you're pulling a thought or a feeling from an experience, that feeling is real in this moment. And then, like you said, if you can get into the, like, we're forgetting about our moments. That really,
Yeah.
we're forgetting that that's what it's all about. Like he says in The Power of Now, if you haven't read or listened to that audiobook, you put it on
It's very
and listen to it
powerful.
like 10
It'll change
times,
your life.
because you won't understand it
It's a
the
game
first time.
changer.
I mean, you might understand
It's a
it,
game changer.
but you won't.
Yeah.
You'll still keep talking and having revelations about it every time you hear it. That's what happened to me.
I would love to get Eckhart Tolle on here, man. I think I'm going to try to slip in his DMs or something. I would love to get
I'm
him on
supposed to have
here. I
coffee with him
first heard
later.
about
I'll
him
just
on
ask.
Oprah.
It's like, I wish, right?
But I'm thinking, I'm having this thought in this moment. It's like when you put yourself in the moment, you rob what, because you're not in your head when you're in the
Yeah,
moment, when you're present. So you rob that fear of having you with it. You're no longer experiencing it. You pull yourself out, because one thing that helped me with that process was listening to what Eckhart said. Listen, realize that what you're thinking is just a freaking thought. And thoughts are things only if you continue to focus on them and do actions that manifest that becoming real. If you get rid of the thought, that's not happening anymore. It's a thought. It's not actually happening. Me having a heart attack on the Total Gym was just a thought. I realized, wait a minute. It's just a thought, Dawn. It's just a thought. And sometimes the overwhelming joy that, hey, I'm fucking with myself right now. I'll actually giggle, and a feeling of humor brings the fear to a close.
yeah.
Just me laughing at myself, saying, you know what? That's not real, girl. You having a fucked up thought right now.
Mhm.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish working out. You all right? If you need to take a breather, take a breather. Your heart's going to slow down. And another thing, fear accelerates your heart. It gives you that accelerated heartbeat. So when your heart's already beating, like in a moment where you're working out, if your heart's already beating, fear is only going to do something, perpetuate that accelerated heartbeat, and then it's going to throw you into a panic attack.
Yeah.
Okay, because you can't stop it. So when that happens, you just know that when you calm down, take some breaths. Remember, I taught you how to take in a deep breath and let it out slowly. That involuntarily, you can't keep it from happening. The body automatically relaxes when you do that, and do
You're
that
focused on your
a
breathing.
couple of times. Yeah, it's meditation 101.
Mhm.
Focus on your breathing. It slows your heart down. And remember, your heart doesn't want to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, its job is to beat. It doesn't want to stop. And honestly, when it's beating like that, that's a good thing. A heart attack, cardiac arrest means your shit stopped. If it's beating, you're good. Okay?
Yeah, we
You
wanna be
want
here,
that.
right? We want our heart to
You
beat.
want that happening.
Yeah.
So, but the way to slow it down is remember that it will always slow down if you don't allow fear to overtake that moment and keep it beating out of control,
You know,
right?
why does that happen to us? I know we're not, this is just a hypothetical question, but, you know, if in fact we don't want to be scared, let's just say we all want to live in the moment, that is like once those thoughts come in, we are having to change, not necessarily change, but we're having to get into our moment and return ourselves to the now because, something that we used to do naturally. When you're a kid, for the most part, before any like thoughts or any of those negative feelings or any of those fears get in, we automatically live in our now. It's like, what snack I'm going to get right now? You know what I mean?
I addressed that earlier in the stream. It's because you don't have a bunch of that you haven't had years of media manipulation. You haven't had years of things happening to you to create that. The worst thing that happened to you then is you saw a bug and got scared of it, or a bully at school. That was your worst fear at that point. Oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow when I go to school? But when you faced the bully, he went away, didn't he?
Yep.
So the fear is bullying you
That's
when
what's
you
so
face it.
powerful. It like running away from your fear is
You can't
like,
run.
it's hypothetical because you think about it like something to do with like really major things, but when you break it down and bring it all the way to just a thought, which a lot of people, I shared this on one of the OCD and anxiety groups that I'm in. A lot of people think about something randomly. Once in a while, they might have a worry. There are people that worry every time they're about to do something. They might be afraid to
Constantly.
go out of the house at all, So
Agoraphobia,
facing those
yeah.
fears are like, it's the
Bullies.
hardest thing to do because you just wanna run from it, you wanna ignore it, you might change your whole day around so you don't do this
But
or
it's
that.
intangible. It's inside of you and you can't run from yourself. It drives some people to suicide. Some
Mhm.
people that can't deal with it, that's how they deal with it. They can't. So they take themselves out,
And I love
you
what you
know?
said earlier about gratitude because if you just stop and you think about where you are right now and just anything that you're thankful for right at this moment, it definitely lets you know that I'm letting these fears just run away. You know what I mean? I'm taking what I'm trying to hold on to, this such precious thing of these good feelings and these good thoughts, and I'm trying to make sure that everything goes right in life, but missing life
Mhm.
by just focusing on fear.
Yeah.
And so many people live their life surrounding fear, and it's just a natural thing. It's what we do. We're thinking about what went wrong yesterday, what could go wrong tomorrow. We're thinking about, oh, like our thoughts just automatically go to that, but it's up to us to bring ourselves back to that positive person that I know we all were at one point
Yeah.
in time.
You
We
know,
weren't born this way.
another thing that you can use, that's a very, very good point. And another thing that you can use if you don't have personal experiences that you can draw off of, there's got to be a song you like that causes you to feel hell. You and you want to make it a good thing, but sometimes if you have to replace the fear with another bad feeling like anger. Anger is a bad feeling, but sometimes anger gets you through something. You can get pissed at the fear. Put on an aggressive song that makes you feel empowered. Not necessarily angry, but makes you feel You know what? What's that guy's name? David Goggins. He said he used to listen to Going the Distance, which is the song that plays when Rocky is in his last round of Rocky 1, where he stands up. Apollo's like, God damn, I can't get rid of this dude. And Rocky stands up and says, Come on. He faced Apollo and he went the distance. That dun, 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 dun,
Yeah. I
that
was thinking when
song.
you first said that, I was like, "She's going the distance. Dun, 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 dun. She's going for speed." That was a different song.
It's not gonna fly now. It's the ding, ding, doom, 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 da 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 da
Remember
dun,
the Get This Shit
dun,
Together song?
dun, da, ga, ga, dun, da, da, ga. He listened to that song to put him in a zone that he needed to be in to complete this marathon when he had nothing left in his tank. It's so funny how watching a scene from a movie or listening to a particular song can
Smelling a
take you
smell.
in a complete that can take you in a completely different headspace. Use it. If you can't get out of your freaking head, use an outside source. Put that song on. Go find that movie. And nowadays you don't even need a DVD or anything physical to do. Pull it up on YouTube. It's digital. Okay. Pull your phone out. Pull something up on YouTube. Something motivational to get
Mhm.
out of your head. If you can't do it within, pull an outside source that conjures something good
You know what it
in
reminds
you.
me of? Our brain, our mind is like Google, and if you're trying to escape negative thoughts or fear,
Yeah.
one of those, you ever been on one of them pages where you just look something up and all you want to do is read the article and
Yeah.
this crap keeps popping up on there like all these ads.
Yeah.
So
All
the
the time.
ads
I
are
hate that.
popping up and you're trying to find the little X to click them, and you're
Oh,
just
I
like,
love
and
it. I
then
love it.
you
I
end
love
up
it.
going to another ad that now you're taken to a different headspace. Like, I mean, a different ad. So that's like your brain running away with something negative because you can't get back to the
You can't
article
click
that
the X.
you can't get in the now. The now
You
is
can't
what
get
you
to
were
that
trying to
X
read.
fast enough.
Yes, and then you miss it and you click the ad and then it goes to something else and you can't even get back to where you originally were. So
Right.
next thing you know, you're off on this tangent reading about how like this, side effect of this medication can, you know, mess you up, or you even end up getting into it because I've done that before and all of a sudden like 30 minutes later I'm like, "Wait, wasn't I looking up the health benefits of a cantaloupe? How did I end up over here getting ready to start my own business with a 30-day
Mm.
trial so this guy was gonna tell me how to make my life better? What's going on?" And then I get to the part where they ask for a card, and I'm like, "I did all this for nothing. I don't have I thought it said nothing was due
And
right now."
some people give them that card. They know what they're doing. Some
Oh, I
people get
have
the
before.
card out.
I've learned my lesson with the, Jen, what's this 59.99 that just came out? I'm like, "Oh, shoot, that was that 30-day free trial.
I don't
I
know who
gotta
you're
call them."
talking about.
Mhm. Not that you haven't done anything like I think we've all been clicked with
I
those,
don't
like
control my wife. No, I really don't. Um, but no, I totally get it. I totally get it, and that is a very good analogy. I love that. I love click the X and get out of the ad. You know what I mean? And some people, something so small and metaphoric like that can actually work for somebody. You know what? I'm gonna remember what they said on that live stream. This is an ad that popped up. I'm gonna click that X right now. I don't need to be thinking that. I need to get in this moment. Code. What the hell was I doing?
I
Okay,
will
there we go.
give, part of that. I've said that our mind is like an algorithm, so the more positivity we put
It
in,
is
I
an
remember
algorithm.
saying that, but
We
there's
are an
actually,
algorithm.
I'll give the credit for that, what started me on that, and I don't remember if he said it about an ad, but there is a, I can't think of his name, but it's on a group OCD or YouTube. I think his name is Nathan or Nathaniel. Um, but he actually said something like stop the ads or stop the pop ups. I forget what he said, and it reminded me of that.
Pop-up blocker. You need an internal pop-up blocker.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, if he didn't say that, it should have been called that, right? But yeah, that is so power. Like I love analogies, and I love that's what really like reeled me in when you started the stream with the Harry Potter.
Hmm.
Because for my brain, it's like easier to work in if you tell me a story and then I can relate it to what I'm
Equate it.
dealing with.
Association.
Whether
Yeah.
it's somebody's story, but even more for me, like that analogy of that shield and putting that up against fear is so important, and I think will help me a lot.
Good.
And hearing your
Good.
story helped too about being on the bike, because that's even like that wasn't even a thought.
Oh, I
That's
deal
like
with it every day with that. I deal with it every day. And I've gotten to a point like when I see it coming, when I feel it coming, I automatically have something on standby, like a mental pill, if you will, a mental placebo that I have ready and waiting to think about,
Mhm.
so that whenever that happens, if I feel a irregular heartbeat happen, instead of me thinking, oh, is this it? A lot of times it's gotten to the point where it's so quick that I just keep going. I'm like, okay, let's do some acceptance. If it happens, it happens. Damn it.
Right.
If it happens, it happens. I ain't
We'll
got
deal
time
with
for
that
that
when it
right now.
happens, right?
Yeah, I got to
We'll cross
figure it
that
out.
bridge when we
I'll
come
take
to
a
it.
breather in a few minutes when I'm done these reps. And if I'm still here, then that means it was all bullshit. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
you
you're
have to
still
kind of
here.
argue with your I mean, you have to stand up to your fears sometimes and accept with the unaccepted, accept
Face your fit. Oh my God, wait a
talked
minute.
about this the other day. It's
Dude, wait a minute,
control.
hold on. Not to cut you off. I have to let this out because I'm old and I'll forget about it. So no, I don't. I'm not old. I don't claim that. But anyway, remember the time we were doing deliveries, right? And you you were going through something where you felt it's like I feel like this was when you first started kind of getting older and started experiencing weird things with your body. And you're like, why is my heart kind of doing that? And come to find out, I think it just turned out to be gas or something, because gas will do that. Gas will, if you
And you
got
told me to
gas.
go ahead and walk up the steps and do the
I said,
delivery.
you're doing this delivery right now, aren't you? Go ahead and deliver it. It's at the third, you know what I mean? And you could say, well, damn, what if she? I'm like, no, you're not having a heart attack, and here's
She
proof.
knows
Go
my
ahead and
mind.
do the delivery. Get it. Get into the delivery. And I gave her something to think about when she got to the top of the stairs, like the customer. Watch the customer's face, or look at something else to think about. And she did it and came back, and I said, see, it was
Yeah.
just a thought. You weren't having a heart attack because you would have dropped. You wouldn't have made it up those stairs. You wouldn't have been able to walk the next 2 feet.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, the fact that you're standing there talking to me, you're not having you're fine.
That's why
You
I
got to
love
just get out of
like
your head.
working and stuff and getting your mind on something. Like I like doing the videos or putting something together for like a training or maybe
Yeah.
something about the vegan stuff, because when I'm focused on helping other people and I'm focused on
You know more
something,
about yourself.
you're in the now. And that's why probably a lot of people
Yeah.
who deal with a lot of fear and anxiety do work a lot, because it actually, some people would be like, "Oh, you're working too much." For me, it's like, "Oh, that's a good thing," because I'm like, "Hey,
That's what
I'm
gets me
happy
through,
doing
right?
this. Do what makes you happy." Like the guy, and I can't say it as a vegan anymore, but in The Secret, he's like, "If you like eating a bologna sandwich, eat a bologna sandwich," not unless it's tofurkey bologna. But like basically just take a minute to do what makes you happy. Do things that make you happy. If you're not happy, then and you have to be in a situation, focus on the positives in the situation. Like there's something positive in
Try to
everything.
look for the positive
There's something
in
positive
every
in every
situation.
adversity too, because look at what you may have just helped. Well, it could go, who knows how many people could hear it when it's on the internet and on YouTube. You could, you could reach 100 million people over time with this one message that happened out of an adverse moment in your life, a moment that was scary for you. But the fact that you're able to come up with hacks and ways to help us overcome fear, you're actually helping more people. So I feel like the things that, I've went through or that I'm going through, if I can help somebody else health wise, with whether it be talking about that type of stuff or mind wise, what you are bringing to the table, like that's a positive. You know what I mean? Fear and anxiety, you have to figure out a way to, like you said, put the shield up and turn it something into a positive. Once you get past it, it will be.
Yeah. Some people become adrenaline junkies just to get over fear. They do things that scare the shit out of them on purpose because
Because guess
that's how
what?
they're built, you
If you're
know?
in the middle of jumping out of an airplane, you're in the now.
Yeah. Yeah, you have no choice but to focus on what is happening in that moment. And you've overcome a fear. You've overcome a fear that most people will never overcome. And doing things like that, lets you minimize fear, lets you, because guess what? Everybody gets scared. You know, that it's like this saying, rich people don't let fear, doesn't, they get scared too, but they don't let fear stop them. When it came to starting that business, when it came to promoting that business, they didn't let fear of rejection stop them. You know,
Mhm.
you cannot let fear take you from your life. Get pissed at the fear. I mean, hell, in that moment, replace the fear with anger. Get pissed at the fear making you feel inferior.
You ever
You
notice
know,
you can
I've
be like
used that.
having a moment and you might be in your own head and something will make you mad and that
Yeah.
automatically takes you out of your own head because you start
Yeah.
thinking about what that was that made you mad and for that
It's
exact
like,
minute.
damn you, I don't want to feel that right now. Leave me the fuck alone. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
get mad at the fear. We only
Yeah.
have to fear itself. Why do you think Kennedy said that? Not because he was scared of fear, but because he recognized that fear was a real thing and that it debilitates and puts an end to progress. And he said the only thing you have to, if you let fear in and take over, that's a sad day. And that's a bad way to live. So, yeah, you need to fear itself because fear will fuck you up. Excuse my French. You know what I mean? So that's why he said that.
Yeah,
And
for our
later
children
in
listen.
life, I truly got what he meant by that. The only thing we have to fear is fear because it is damaging, very
Yeah,
damaging,
it
you
really is.
know, but you can get through it. You can get through anything. People are more resilient than they realize. If you're walking this earth, you're a miracle because the human body, if you paid attention, dude, everything that the human body and mind are capable of are miraculous. Proof is in the pudding. Look at all the stuff we've made. We've also managed to damn near destroy the earth. That's how powerful we are. That's not a good analogy, but because of all of the inventions, but look what we also have done. We have come up with solutions to fix what's going on. That's how powerful we are. If you are blessed to be a part of the human race, you are absolutely amazing. I don't care what anybody around you tells you. The fact that you exist, you in yourself, just being who you are a freaking miracle that was created out of nothing
And if you
and
start with
has,
that and you start with
yeah,
just that whole like come all the way back to that very core, that basic thing, I'm here and
you're here for a
I'm
reason.
here right now and right now is the beginning of your future. You know what I mean? So whatever you were dealing with or whatever the case, think about it like this, whatever I'm dealing with, I might be able to help somebody
In
with
this
my
moment,
story. And that can
in this
really
moment, you are no longer dealing with it.
put you
Resolve to no longer be dealing with it in this moment.
that can really put you in a good place to know that it's okay whatever's happening right at this moment because you will get through it just like you got through everything else and it's made you stronger and the fact that if while you're getting through it you can talk about it, you know what I mean? That's what's helped me is opening up. And I know a lot of people that's like things are always said and I would be like yeah yeah yeah, you know, I even studied psychology, you know, for 7 years and I listened to it but I never like really
Bought in.
understood what it meant until now talking about saying talk about things to make yourself feel better because I'm not a the
Mm-hmm.
kind of person I talk to you and I've even probably opened up to you more and more and more as we've,
Took years.
you know,
Took
through
years
the
to
years
crack that
because I'm a
shell,
very private
but you finally
person. If
did.
I'm dealing with something, I
Yeah,
like to deal with it and like get
I am
through it on
too.
my own. But I feel like the more I have like
I used to be.
gotten to this point, you know, in life where I felt like, okay, that's not working right now because I'm seeing this stuff manifest, you know, like it's creeping in more and I'm like, I saw you deal with some of these things too. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to her because like, hey, remember when you were talking about when you'd hear something on TV and it would like resonate with you, like you'd get worried about something even if it wasn't you? And it's like that has helped me so much to say it. Sometimes saying it makes me get past that thought and fear and replaces it just
Because you
out
know
of the
what you're
blue.
doing? You are weeding it out. When you put it out in the ether, you're getting rid of it. Because if you leave it in your mind and in your body, it will fester and become this toxic thing that will begin to stink from the inside out. Okay. And I said this
It's like
yesterday.
taking the
You know,
trash
you
out,
got to,
right?
yeah, you got to get the trash out and let it leave you so that it can go out in the atmosphere where it belongs and dissipate, and but as long as it's out of your mind and body, because it will eventually creep back in. Once you get good at getting rid of it, then you're good. You know what I mean? Then at some point, it's something like, okay, a lot of the medicine commercials that all the side effects used to screw my head up.
Yeah.
Now I can listen to it and it is background noise. I've so disciplined myself and accepted that so much that it's okay. That's media manipulation. And I so am passionate about that now, not affecting me, that it doesn't. I can sit and listen to that and actually giggle at the like, I can't believe that at one point I would listen to this and it would scare the shit out of
But
me. I'm like,
how weird is
what?
it that in 10 years we've switched places? Because I used to be that person saying to
Okay,
you,
so do you
"Don't
mind
worry
if I
about it."
tell the example of what happened that one night?
No. What
Okay,
night?
well, okay, we
For
remember we
me or
had a
you?
friend to me.
Oh, no, I don't mind.
Right, like, don't be telling my shit.
I
But
just wanted to be ready for what it was. I don't care. I've probably told anybody that's listening half my life anyway. I'm such a wordy person now.
yeah, no. Can I get it out? But okay, so we had a friend come over and he brought some weed with him and we smoked. And all of a sudden, I went back to, and I told this story before where I thought that I had smoked some weed that was laced with something and had my very first panic attack. Well, here we are years later. This was in 2012 that this happened, maybe 13. And it happened again.
Well, we don't
Okay.
smoke
All of a
anymore.
sudden,
I'd probably go off the deep
ba-boom,
end if I
ba-boom,
did that.
ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And I'm like, okay, all right, all right, all right. Come on, come on, come on. You're all right. You good. And I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop. And I'm like, okay. I got up and walked around a little bit. And the thoughts were just, you're going to die. You're going to dancing around in my head, and I'm like, okay, woo. And all of a sudden I started feeling like I was going numb a little bit. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me go in the bedroom. Let me just get out of the living room, go in the bedroom, leave them in here for a minute. And I was in there just kind of pacing. And next thing I know, you came in like, hey, you all right? And all of a sudden, I felt myself lose complete control of my mental faculties. And I thought I was legit getting ready to drop dead in that moment. I kept picturing myself fainting or falling out or dropping dead. And I remember you grabbing me and just getting as close as I am to this microphone and just looking in my eyes, saying, honey, hello, it's me. I'm here. You were getting me in the moment. You didn't realize what you were doing. And at the time, it wasn't working, but it kind of was. And I remember thinking, and it's so funny what you just said about um, thinking about somebody else's issues, and that takes you out of your own shit, because if you start helping other people, and that's a good tip, help other people, get you out of your own head. Not that you shouldn't deal with your own issues, but it puts you in a better place to even do that even more once you figure out how to help yourself. But in that moment, you were, honey, just look in my eyes, you're okay, you're fine. I'm like, Jen, I don't know what's happening. I feel like I'm legit dying right now. I didn't say legit because that wasn't a thing back then, but I was like, I feel like I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I remember feeling like I was on the inside looking out of my body, like I was having an out of body experience, but I was inside myself. And I could see you from in there, the real me, looking at me. And all of a sudden, I remember getting overwhelmed. And this is funny because guess what? What we are talking about today is what happened in that moment. I was overwhelmed. The fear was overtaken by a feeling of not wanting to scare you and not wanting to die on you in that
Oh,
moment. And seeing you be so worried about me, like, baby, it's okay. I didn't like what I was putting you through in that moment. And I thought, get yourself together. I would,
Yeah.
I, that thought and overwhelming feeling because of how much I love you, the thought of me hurting you by dying or not being able to control myself, the thought that I was scaring you because you didn't know what was happening, you couldn't do anything to help me. The thought of putting you through that in that moment was enough to replace that fear.
Uh-huh.
And I got through. I said, I'm okay, baby. I'm all right. That pulled me. I just went back to it.
Yeah.
That lets me know that's
I
something
do
I
too.
can use. I went back to it, and I was like, wow. It was like waking up from a dream. And I'm like, stop doing this to her. She's worried about you right now. Get your shit straight, And I walked over to the window, started taking in some air, and calmed myself down. So again, to this day, thank you for that, because you were there for me in that moment, but you don't realize you were there for me in more ways than just physically being there. You were
Yeah.
able to get in my head with that worried look on your face. All I could think about was, look what you're doing to her. And
Because
that
had
was
I
enough to
said
get me.
something else like, "You're fine," that wasn't going to work in that moment. That wasn't getting you in
Yeah.
the now.
Yeah.
Putting that I
I
message
wasn't buying it.
in.
I wasn't
Yeah.
buying it. I wasn't
We
believing it.
sometimes can't buy our own thoughts unless it
Yeah, we
has a
can't
feeling.
bullshit
That
ourselves.
made you have a feeling going back to all the way to what you just talked about. Even thinking about that now, it puts us in those feelings because I forget sometimes like what we had for dinner 2 nights ago, but I will never forget that moment. There are certain moments
That
that
was a
you'll
very,
always,
very
because
powerful
there was a
moment.
fear and a happy moment when it was over.
But what
Those,
does that tell you? It was one of those expected. It was my Harry Potter parents moment.
mhm,
And it remains one of those moments to this day. It was that strong. It was
yeah.
that strong that years later I can continue to use that moment because it was that freaking strong, because I love you that much that I never want to hurt you. So, you know,
Thank you.
it was powerful enough to pull me from my own fears and
Yeah.
into surviving, and getting that it got me out of that and into the moment with
Well,
you
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 are
know
100% have repaid me over time for that moment so many times. You have to help me now on a daily basis get out of my own head. So it's like, okay, I'm like, you've paid me back with interest. So definitely,
That's
I'm so
cool.
happy that I was able to help in that moment without even knowing what I was
How much
doing.
you Yeah,
I was just worried and trying to get
and
you, like,
continue to do
I
with the
know
same
I can
moment.
get to her. If I can get to Dawn, this strong woman that I know she is, that has gotten through everything in her life, and make her realize that right now. Come here. Look at me. This is, because I could tell you were somewhere else. You ever been
I was
talking to
gone.
somebody, "Hey,
I was
Ro,
gone.
thank you for coming."
Hey, Ro, how you doing, baby girl?
I'm like,
Yeah, I
if
was
you
gone.
yeah, like you can be talking to somebody and you can know they're not listening to you. You can tell their head is somewhere else. And that's exactly, I could tell you were like really in your head, but
I
not
was
in the moment.
overwhelmed with fear.
How about
I
that?
thought I
Get
was
out of your head and
dying.
in the moment. That's a good,
That's it. That's what we did, and all of it, me stopping, and that the person that was looking out of the one that was reacting and doing all of that was looking at you, and it was like it was my soul. My soul was looking out and seeing your soul and connecting to it, and it was able to literally pull me out of that moment. Because I replaced that overwhelming fear with that overwhelming love for you. And love, let me tell you something, the most powerful emotion that we
yeah.
have is love. It's stronger than fear. You may not realize it in the moment. If you can find something, someone, someplace, something that you really love more, it could be yourself.
It could be
Okay, you could
life.
be a narcissistic, but that that's the only. I told Jenna, you wouldn't put a welterweight in the ring with a heavyweight. Love is the other heavyweight. Love is the counterpart to fear. Okay, love is the only thing that can take that fear and do this, like rock paper scissors, baby. Okay, that's the only emotion that is strong enough to overpower fear. If you don't love something, you better find somebody to love. You better find something, someone that can give you that feeling of something of being able. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing. It could be a place. It could be just going to your old high school and walking around the hallways because it takes you back to being that teenager and you're overwhelmed with that feeling of being that teenager. You know,
One
it
of
could
my
be some.
favorite, people in the world, history, Martin Luther King, hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. It reminds me of that. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's same with fear, you
yeah,
know. Um,
yeah.
but I love that. You know what I
Look,
mean? That
ultimately, Harry Potter. That was how the story ended. Harry Potter's mother's love turned out to be what saved him in that moment, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it won out over Voldemort. You know?
what's something you said about when you said you were looking into my soul and my soul was looking into yours at that moment? Like
Yeah.
we could feel each other because sometimes that's who we really are. That's what's inside of us, that
Sometimes
spirit.
that's who we are. Period. All the time. We never stop being that.
Yeah, I
That's
know
what's
all the time
real.
but I meant
Yeah,
sometimes we have to revisit that
we
in
got to
that
remember
moment.
it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
because we
we
forget.
forget,
We
right?
forget.
Because
And
it's the
the
same as
body,
how I
when
can
the
come
body
in.
drops away, that soul, that's what's left. It's
Right.
intangible. You can't see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, but that's real.
And we're cluttered up with all the other things that are going on, and we have this other, like I was going to say, then there were like four people in that room, but really it was just us two. Our souls were in that room, but there was
Well, when
two
I
other.
went in the bedroom, it was just us two. But yeah,
No,
in
but I'm
originally in the living
saying
room.
there were four people
Oh,
metaphorically.
I got you. It was our physical bodies and our souls.
And also, I'm thinking those thoughts, though, and the fear. The fear, the pain body was trying to tell you one thing. It was trying to pull you out of out of your soul. It was
Yeah,
trying to pull you out of your core and who you were. And it was coming up with thoughts that weren't true, trying to make up stories in your mind. And the more those
to
stories
keep
tried
me
to get in, the
identified
worse
with
it
it.
got for you until you were able to get back into yourself. And if I had anything to do with it, that was the
You
powerful
really
part.
did. You
We
really
looked
did.
into each
I
other.
am alive today because of that moment.
Mhm.
But I'm telling you, dude, I really feel that. And Eckhart Tolle, you could do worse things, those of you that are listening, than to listen to that book. It is on YouTube, free of charge. Pull it up because he goes into a whole section describing that thing that happens to you is not you. It's something called your pain body. It's whatever identifies with those fearful thoughts and absorbs them and makes you live them and become them. That is something called a pain body. And when you identify, your pain body loves keeping you in its hip pocket, baby. It loves keeping you in it. Loves company. Misery loves company. That's what that means. Your pain body is named misery, and it loves to keep you entangled with it and fool you into thinking that that's who you and what you are. But you are separate from that. Things that you fear, things that that you feel and think technically are not you.
You ever have that friend that that you can call? Let's say you have two friends. One of them is going to be ultra positive and is going to say, "Hey, find the positive in that situation." The other friend,
Yeah.
you can call and have a what fest with. If you say one little thing, they will just start
Let's
feeding
have a
on it
bitch
for you.
fest.
Oh, really? Like, oh, negativity. I'm gonna jump in there. I know. Yeah,
Because
and
that's what
sometimes
we do.
that's what we do.
The
That's what
mind
our
loves
pain
that.
body does. And it's like if you get on board with your pain body and start feeding into the fear, that's where you have to really you can't fight it though. You can't, like you were saying earlier, you can't just ignore it. It's there. You have to accept that those thoughts or those feelings are there. You had to accept the fact that, hey, I'm letting my mind run away from me. I'm me, not my mind. You know what I mean? I control that.
You
And
know
that's
something?
the part that's so hard to do, to get into yourself. And like you said something earlier about seeing it coming. It
Yeah,
reminded me, if anybody here has ever played sports, um, like if you're dribbling the ball and you know where you have to go, but you also start to anticipate what that defender is going to do, and you go the other way before they even do it. That's what it
yeah.
reminds me of. Putting
Lamella
that
Ball
shield up,
is so good at that.
you just stay on your course, and at some point it will look like you are literally weaving in and out of people, just going, and like you're making it look easy, whereas somebody else trying to dribble that ball around, that person's going to get to them because they're not able to anticipate it or get away from it. That ball is going to get stolen. And when
Yeah.
a negative thought comes in and you start to go on a tangent, and if you run away with it or panic, or anything that starts happening, that's what it reminds me of. Now they've gotten that ball and they are all the way running to the other side of the court, or they've
Mhm.
gotten a hold of, like if it's just like if you're in a room of a bunch of crowded people and you're trying to get through, and everybody's like
Mhm.
stepping in your way, but you just want to, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, when you get this thing figured out, and I'm nowhere near it, but I can't wait. Maybe I got it figured out in sports, but not in life. I just want to be
It's
able
an
to walk
everyday
around to the
practice.
front of the line,
We are
and
all
just
works in progress. It's an everyday practice. But when you gather things like being able to listen to the power of now, there were times when, we'd be riding around in the car and I would start going through, what would I do? Put the headset on immediately. I'm like, okay, I'm losing control. Why am I thinking about that? Let me, you know what? Let me replace that. And I realize now in retrospect that for years I was healing myself, because now I'm teaching others what I did. I'm just verbalizing what I did, but I'm trying to give people cheat codes because they worked for me. And I'm as bad as it gets with the being in your head shit. Okay. And think about it, and this is what I was going to say, but I'm going to take it out of the depths of what we're talking about, and go into something that is just going to be a little bit superficial, and that is a reality television moment. Okay, so remember Married at First Sight, right? Justin, that's one of the things that he deals with. He's constantly in his head and he doesn't know how to get out of it sometimes. But the person he's with, Alexis, she needs help. She needs therapy. She thinks she's helping him. She's toxic. She's got a lot of toxicity in her, and she loves toxicity. She dwells on it. Look at what happened from the beginning of their relationship all the way up to the time they decided to part ways. She is somebody who thrives in a toxic situation. When nothing's toxic going on, she creates it.
hmm
And he does not need that type of person in his life. I'm so glad they split up. Look at what she happened. He was telling her he loved her. And when she said she loved him back, she caught herself and got pissed at herself. She joked it off, but she's like, no, I will not love. I will not accept that love. I will not allow myself to be happy. She saw Megan and not Megan, Morgan and Ben. uh, yeah, girl, he's talking about you. He's over here. None of your damn business. She had no business running to her with that information. That was a conversation being had by her husband, which most likely, why the hell did you have it on speaker? Why? Because was she insecure and made you put it on speaker? I want to know what y'all talking about. Okay, because why
Yes,
was he even on speaker? That was a private conversation. And because of that, she was able to control that. She probably made him put it on speaker. She took the information, ran to his wife, and caused what? Toxicity that permeated through their marriage until it broke it up. The last night, that last week, everybody's sitting around the table. Hey, Mitch. She said, hey, I'm leaving the door open. Oh, Mitch, is there a chance? And she comes up with this bullshit in the tell-all about, I was looking out for my friend. No, what you were doing was you were
creating,
being your pain body and creating toxicity and
because
spreading it again.
I
And
think,
now look what happened with Mitch and Kristen because of that.
yep, same exact thing. She took, well, I
That's
think
what your pain body does to you.
here's the thing. My absolute go-to has always been, how could I make this situation positive? I don't want to make anybody feel bad, and I don't like stirring up negativity in other people or
Hmm.
in especially in other people's relationships and things. I will figure out a way that you don't have to, like, some people though, like her first thought was, "Oh, I heard something that I could
Trouble,
create more negativity."
trouble,
Instead of
woo,
saying, "Hey,
trouble.
I'm going to talk with
Let's.
Ben and
Ugh.
say, maybe you should go talk with her about it and see how that would work." Even if somebody might say something negative, I'm thinking when I how can I say to this person, "Okay, where's that negativity coming from? Is this from something they did to you a while ago, for example?" Or, try to help the person get to a better place instead of creating a bunch of negativity and making them ultimately leave each other. I mean, that's going to happen anyway if people are not,
Yeah.
if that's not meant to work out. But that is exactly what she does. She takes it and runs with
She
it. That was
she
a
is
perfect
the
example.
epitome of a walking pain body
And we
because
can't let our pain
it,
body run away with
that's
us.
right. She wants people to be as pissed off and as miserable as she is on the inside. Somewhere, and that's why I said she needs therapy. Somebody either hurt her or she saw somebody get hurt, and she was determined that that's not going to be her. And every now and then, she gives you insights to why she is the way she is.
I would
So
feel
I'm not
horrible if
judging.
it was my fault that I had somebody made somebody have a bad day. That
Yeah,
must not
I'm
even
not judging her
restitute with
or
her.
hating on her, but she needs to get help so she can stop doing that to herself and then to others because
Yeah.
she enjoys that toxicity. The wedding, she said yes, takes his hand, they walk off, and immediately, my wife is, yeah, we're happy, blah blah blah. Yeah, I just said yes, but I didn't really mean it, or whatever happened there.
But
She started
it
that.
really is her own pain body that wants to lead her to a negative space. Like when things are good, she's thinking of something
Shit,
that
things
could
are
go
good.
wrong.
We got
And
to
once
create
it's
some
over,
pain here
you ever
so that
heard
I
of,
can live.
like, I mean, have you ever heard of? I know you've heard of. I'm talking to everybody else. Has anyone ever heard of self-fulfilling prophecy? Is what that reminds me of. If somebody is insecure with themselves and they get into a relationship and they can't even imagine that somebody is that into them and that they've always been hurt before, sometimes they will lash out and do things to create that person to leave them just so they can avoid, just get to that point
That's
quicker.
exactly what she did.
That's
That's exactly
exactly
what
what
she
she
did.
did because it's coming from her own insecurity. She's putting him down over
Yeah.
and over, like, this
He
is
did
what you
nothing
need
but
to do.
show her love that entire time. And over
He
time, you
said,
could
"Take
watch that
this
she
instead and show
beat
it."
him down mentally. She beat every time he turned around, they were off camera and having arguments in the back room. She beat him down mentally. She makes fun of how he makes love with her. He's not the right sexual partner for her. When she realized, and the worst thing that he did, unfortunately, safe space, what safe space, the worst thing he did was cry in front of her because now he's like prey. She's got a
The
victim.
Dementors,
She's
right?
a dementor. Oh, you're really sensitive. Oh man, let me see how many times I can make you cry.
But see, that happens in, like, that's bullying right there in a situation,
Yeah,
But a lot
she
of
is a
times
bully.
the
Every time he
bully
began to have conversations in a group setting, she had this look on her face like, I know he's going to say something jacked up and I'm going to be all over it when he does. She wouldn't pay attention to him. She would just be sitting there looking at everybody like, why is he
she
talking?
was anticipating her next, moment where she could
Her
then put
next
him down because she was
monstrosity.
waiting for it. But a lot
Look,
of
Rose says
times
she's busy. She's overwhelmed with packing and work.
I saw that. Well, thank you for coming and joining us at least for a little bit of time, and Janetta and everybody else that was here. That is,
Yeah, we're going to wrap
I
it up.
appreciate you guys all joining in this conversation. I feel
We
like,
got deep again.
uh, but the I forgot what I was saying now. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The Alexis, is that her name? I always forget her
Yeah.
name. And Justin.
Yep.
But it reminds me of situations where someone is is seeming to be the bully, it's
Mm-hmm.
always something else going on there, their own insecurity. And sometimes we it can be as simple as, yes, they were bullied, so now they want to like inflict that on someone. And then some people take things that
Misery
happen
loves
to them
company.
and reverse it and say, I don't ever want to make someone feel like I was made to feel. And sometimes people that are really insecure and have been bullied might not want to wait for the other. They just automatically assume, like, if they're in a setting with a bunch of people and they think that somebody is going to attack them, then they will put a shield up and lash out first, which is like now they're just going to project it first. I'm just
Yeah.
going to start the shit because I know at some point somebody's going to start with me, and I don't want to be like picked on, so I'm going to start
And
it so
guess
I can
what?
feel empowered.
Because Justin is like in a lot of ways the same as her, he unfortunately was not the right match for her because now you've got toxic with toxic. What a good example of that would have been was, like you said yesterday, Karen and Miles. Miles offset Karen's toxicity with love. He was into her, and the ultimate goal for him was to be with her and to have her love him. So he treated her with that. If Justin didn't have so much crap going on inside of him, he could have maintained his original feelings of love, and that would eventually diffused
You
Alexis.
know
She wouldn't
what,
have been able to fight it.
dude?
What?
You know how earlier you had the revelation about being in the moment?
But he's not whole and healed, so he can't do that. But what? What was your thing? So I was still on that thought.
Oh, no problem. But your thought actually brought me to something like very powerful, like the analogy starting with what we were talking about and what you just said. When you said Miles diffused her toxicity with love and eventually
Mm-hmm.
she absorbed
She
into that
succumbed
love,
to it. Yeah,
it reminded me of the story that I always tell, but I've never related it to fear. The coffee bean. Taking your
yeah,
positive thoughts and overcoming your pain body by projecting the positive feelings and remembering those positive feelings, remembering who you were when you didn't have all this stuff in your
dude.
brain,
Okay,
living in
I'm
the
gonna
moment.
stop you right there. That story resonates so deeply with you. I
It
want you
might
to
have
take
just healed
note.
me.
I want to take note because you tell that story every chance you get. You always use it in examples when you're managing people. That's something that resonates with you. Remember the coffee bean when you start going through
That's
shit.
my Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yep. Expecto Patronum does it for me.
I love
The
you, Harry
coffee
Potter, if
bean
you're
store.
listening, or whoever your real name is.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes.
But yeah, well, J.K. Rowling technically it came from her brain and her imagination. So,
I
but
love that you know all that. You could be a great you should do a review of that, I'm telling you. You'd be great. That'd be a
yeah,
great
that'd be
discussion to have.
fun.
There's so much you could do. Like you'd be on a live stream like 24/7. Like
Oh,
you'd
hell, I
be
thought about going live 24 hours and see how long I can just stay on here and just talk. I mean, I seriously thought about that. I thought about doing a subscriber-thon and stay on here until I get to 1,000 subscribers. Ro, I might try
Oh my goodness.
that. I don't know how long I'll
Okay.
be on
All
here,
right, well, I'll go. I'll
but
be already have done, ate dinner, went to sleep, woke up, be like, how many yet now?
damn
I'm
it,
just
I'm not
having my
getting
morning
off here
moringa
until
drink.
we hit 1,000 and show the
Oh,
number as it grows. That
that
would
that's
be
a
funny.
but I think,
That'd be fun.
you keep putting this stuff out, it's not even you don't even have to fight for that. You're gonna be at 1,000,000 subscribers because I'm telling you, if I
That'd
had
be
a way to
lovely.
make them happen right now and let 1,000,000 people hear this, I would because I know people are struggling. I know that the fact that I
Especially in
wouldn't
this
say it for
world.
years that I was
In this
struggling
world.
with
And I
fear
wouldn't
and
be
worry
doing it for the
and anxiety.
subscribership. I'd be doing it to help people. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
That's what I mean. That's why I know you want that because you can
Yeah.
reach more people. When you get to 1,000, YouTube opens up a lot of things like for you. They open up your what is that thing called? We just talked about it. Your algorithm. It
Oh yeah,
opens
yeah,
it
yeah.
up to reach more people.
Yeah.
As it puts you higher in the ranking,
Jumps you
like
to another
Google.
tier. Yeah.
Yeah. It helps you to another tier, a happy tier. Get it? Happy tiers. Okay.
Happy tears.
Yeah, I'm like mostly goofy a lot of times. Um, but I do get serious on this stream, which is cool. It's not my comedy hour. I can get deep. I
It's
love
so
it.
funny too. Someone who's so humorous struggles with OCD and different dark things that she's struggling with, but you would never know it if you didn't know her personally, because she gives you what? She gives you that outer shell that is always funny, always humorous, you know?
Because that's really
But
who I am in the core, and that's who I
and
have
that's
been
who you're
for
struggling
most
to
of
get
my
back
life.
to.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would have like little times where I'd worry about something when something was actually going on, but
Yeah.
over time, like that
That's
has
who you are,
that
honey. I'm telling you, it's
hormones
hormonal.
have
It's
dropped in,
hormonal.
and I'm like, "Wait, I need to get back to that person." And like sometimes
Yeah.
I'm in the moment when I'm making people laugh or I'm being humorous or I'm helping
Yeah.
somebody or I'm
Yeah.
on this stream and talking with you, um it
It's
definitely
therapeutic.
like puts me back in that moment, you know. And it's weird to talk about something that has not even been going on my entire life.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
something that
that's
has
what I'm saying.
happened
You're
recently.
hormonal, you're premenopausal. So that changes a whole lot of biochemistry.
I told men to
Okay.
pause a long time ago.
That
Rose
changes a
said,
whole lot
"I
of
laughed at you through
biochemistry
crying."
and things in your brain and stuff like that. And you start reacting to things differently and looking at things differently. And it's something that is unfortunately out of your control. But because a lot of it is mental, that is stuff that you can control. You know what I mean? Mental
Control
health
it
is a
because I'm a
real
coffee
thing.
bean now.
Yeah, mental health is a real thing, and it is very delicate. And
Mhm.
sometimes when you people have to go to a doctor when they feel like they can't do these things. But me, I've always been a self-healer and I've always believed in self-healing, so I sought out ways to holistically heal my own mind.
Yeah.
And YouTube, thank God, there is a plethora of stuff on YouTube on how to do that that I use, like audiobooks. There's a ton of audiobooks that you can listen to on YouTube for free, so YouTube is a very, very, very wealthy place of information that can really help you. It's got some shit that can hurt you, but it's got a lot of good stuff that can help you. Seek it out.
Two things that you just said, going back to that, I didn't want to cut in, but you said that mental health is a delicate subject. When you're sick, it's more like in your face, like, oh, I have a cold, I don't feel well, I don't know if I might have COVID, so I'm going to go to the doctor. That's really easy, cut and dry. Mental health, people don't think theirs is serious enough, so they don't
Yeah.
maybe even admit that there's something going on with mental health. It's not so like in your face, like, oh, I don't I might have anxiety, but maybe this is how everybody thinks. Maybe it's normal, So that part is where that subjectivity comes in, and everybody won't have the same exact thing going on. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this is that strain of virus that's COVID, but it's so many different forms of mental health and things that we can deal with that there's no real way to make a name for every single thing,
There's not a
even though
one
they try
size
to.
fits all.
It's
Yeah.
just overcoming fear. That's so broad and such a thing that we know everybody has it to some degree, and then
Yeah.
some people are in overdrive with it. Some people
we
are
just
over
we just try
anxious,
to give you little hacks that we've used
Yeah.
that have worked for us. And if by chance you happen to be the lucky person that this also works for, then we've done what we came to do. We
And I
came
would
what we came
ask
to the
if
party for.
you know people that this could help, and even if you don't,
Please
because
share it.
it's really important to share with, because one little thing I've heard on YouTube so many times can help me, and something that I would have never seen that someone else shares with me helps me. So that really, is why I share things that I feel will put positivity into the world, because I want to be that person for somebody else, even if you just
Yeah.
help one person. And the fact that, that you have, had these things happen and you're telling us the actual story of how you overcame that, and
Yeah.
these tricks, or I guess you want to call them, they're not really tricks but hacks. That's what it was. I was like, I knew there was
Right.
a word. It is really truly what we're all trying to do, is we really have all the same goal. We want to be
Yeah.
happy, we want to be fulfilled, We want to feel that we're making other people feel good, and we want to make sure that we're being, you know what I mean, that our life is
The
exactly where we
person,
want it to be.
the people that you want to be around, that you love being around, that kind of make you giggle, make you smile, that make you, get in a place where you kind of forget your troubles, you can be that person for yourself. And when you become that person for yourself, you're going to automatically be that person for others. They're going to want to be around you, because you found a way to elevate yourself above the mental bullshit that goes on with people. Not that you don't experience it, because you do. You're going to experience it if you're a human being. But if you constantly load your arsenal with things that can get you through those moments and help you be in the now, then share them and help others do it, because in a post COVID-19 world, we need it more than ever.
Oh, that's
We
a whole.
need it more than ever as a human race, not as a particular race, but as a human race.
If anybody is like me and may have been struggling with a little bit of, fear and anxiety, or even like that, you know, uh, fear of getting sick and things, COVID-19 probably took a lot of people to a whole nother level, because it's like something that might have been like, oh, you're being
I feel bad
silly.
for Howie Mandel.
Somebody sneezed, and like I'll walk, I used to just that story you
if
told
hey,
us
if you
before.
weren't a germaphobe, you became a germaphobe.
Yeah,
If
but
you
if
had
you were already a
germophobic
germaphobe,
tendencies,
you put it
yeah.
on like
If
high
you had germophobic
octane.
tendencies, which I didn't know I did, but yeah, you
Energy.
were sanitizing everything. You weren't touching nobody. You weren't going near anybody.
I still sanitize everything and my hands, but that is because I realized something. I had this epiphany when we started talking, like when COVID, um, they started telling us about the door handles and everything. I was like,
Yeah.
I bet that automatically will cut down on the common colds that happen and things and flus. It should, but people probably stop doing it. Like, oh, COVID's over, so I'm going to touch the door handle and then go rub my eye and face in it now because it's not as prevalent. But think about it. That is
You
kind
want to know
of,
how to cut down on the common cold? Moringa! Drink it.
yes. And definitely wash your hands and don't touch your face after you touch stuff. Because I started thinking that is kind of gross. I would like wash my hands in the bathroom and leave, and then maybe possibly push the door handle that some like
Somebody
150
else touched
people
that didn't
touched, and if
wash their
they had
hands.
just coughed on their hand, that's how you get a cold. So why would I even do that? It's not like it's a big deal for me to put a little bit of hand sanitizer on. I'm like, shoot,
Right.
I'm going to do that anyway. So it's like
I've gotten to a
prevention.
point where if I have sleeves or just the main part of my shirt, I will take it and put it on the door handle and lift it up. You know what I mean? If I don't
Oh,
have sanitizer available, I do that all the time. I'll pull my
mm,
sleeve down and open it, because guess what? Just because COVID isn't as prevalent doesn't mean we can't still spread diseases by having those trifling ass behaviors.
yeah.
So if anything, it taught you how to, yes, when you leave the bathroom, wash your freaking hands. When
I
you
hope
finish
everybody does.
wiping your ass, excuse my French, wash your hands.
That
You're in
just
a place
reminded me
where,
of something else.
you know, what?
Oh,
Speaking of which, I have got to go to the bathroom. You know what? I'm gonna let you have that thought. I'm gonna put myself on off camera and I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be right
okay.
back.
And then I'll have you talk to this before, I guess we're about to end soon, but prevention. That is what that reminded me of when when we were talking about sanitizing our hands. That's preventing us from even getting sick. Going back to mental health, how Dawn was saying earlier, um, J&J Video, Dawn. I always call you Dawn on here. Is that okay? Not your stage name. But I was like, if you just are going into like menopause, or maybe you are starting to feel a little more anxious, or even if you're not, mental health is something that if we start these things early, you can like prevent those things. Like I wish like I don't do it yet, but she's been telling me to meditate, and I'm like, oh, that would probably be really helpful to get in the moment, to get in the now. Like listen to positive books, and the power of now and similar things, YouTube, positive mental health, just listen to things, surround yourself with people, try to do this when you're in a situation take just 3 minutes and think about that situation before you react to it, and think about, what do I want the outcome to be? Not where is my brain going to take me. If somebody says something that you feel like, Janetta said, it's a work in process for me. Absolutely, yes. It is. I think for all of us, and we don't realize it is until, something happens that makes us go to a negative space, or a feeling that, doesn't, like losing people. I know we've talked about that before, Janetta. That is a difficult process, and I'm still working through losing, people in my life that have happened years and years ago. It's a process, because it conjures up a feeling, that you don't want to happen, and you keep going to that negative place, and you have to just come back to the happy thoughts of when you had that person, and the happy thoughts of the people that are in your life right now. But like, prevention is, that's where I was going with it, Don. You always mention this. You sleep with the stuff in your head. You listen to it throughout the day. I hear your motivational stuff coming out of your headset while you're preparing your morning drink.
I
I love
intravene.
it.
I'm mentally intravenously, even though because you have veins in your brain. Okay, I am on a steady stream of anything that will keep me on the positive side of things. And you can say you inundate. I am purposely inundating myself. Why? Because we're inundated with so much negative shit. So I have to counteract that. I have, instead of listening to I am constantly listening. There's an excellent um channel on YouTube called Motiversity. It's nothing but a plethora. And also Ben Lionel Scott also has the same type of channel. Nothing but a plethora. They've got playlist after playlist, video after video of motivational with the music, got the music going on, and it's Steve Harvey, it's Les Brown, it's Tony Robbins, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's Eric Thomas, it's any and everybody who does motivational speaking with some driving music. I listen to it when I work out, Doxy meditations I listen to when I'm sleeping. There's a one that's fasting affirmations. I want to get back heavily into fasting. Well, how do I do that when my brain constantly wants to go get a pizza or go get this or go do that? You got to change it subliminally, subconsciously. So I listen to fasting affirmations, which makes it easier for me to get through my day without eating food, without me even realizing I don't have to work as hard because my subconscious mind is at work. I have a something, and when I'm sleeping, when I'm awake, is always going on, aside from when I'm watching reality TV. But
Which that is what's going on then, though. That's getting your mind in the moment, because we enjoy
yeah, because you
watching
know what I'm
reality
doing when
TV.
I'm watching that? I'm
Yeah,
analyzing people on there. I'm like, look at what this dude just said. Look at what he's doing. The reason why that happened is because you're doing.
yeah.
So
It's
I
like
do it
we
with
have to
that too. It's
rewind
like
our shows
practice.
like 100 times, because we will go on a conversation about, between me trying to scarf down my food at the same time. But like, we will go off on a whole conversation about why he did this and take it way deeper. I don't know if other people do that, right? But or do we
Yeah.
just get really deep? But yeah, we'll have to keep rewinding it. But that's us being in the moment, even at that point, even though it's not like, oh, I'm listening. You don't have to listen to like motivational stuff all the time, but enjoying
That's just
your
me.
life
That's my pill.
is, what it's all about. So if that puts you in a happy place to watch OPD, other people's drama, then that's where you could go. But like you said, you don't want to inundate yourself with a bunch of negative stuff, because it gets in subconsciously, whether we know it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
it
I wanted
definitely
to read
does.
Ro real quick, if that's okay. She said, um, I have suffered from mental health issues since my early teens, and most people are shocked to hear it, because they say, you always seem so happy.
Hmm.
That is something that people, when you're dealing with somebody else, this might help too, to be really empathetic, to others. Like, when you feel like somebody's being mean to you, or you feel like they said something off the wall, it helps to take a moment and get in and think, I wonder why they might have said that. Were they really trying to be mean to me, or are they maybe dealing with something within themselves that created that, or maybe they didn't mean it that way. I think taking a moment to understand someone else's side, and maybe even if you can talk to that person and say, "Hey, use an iMessage. When you said that, it made me feel like you meant this or this. This is how it made me feel inside. It made me feel insecure. It made me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Is that, and then they might come back and say, no, I didn't mean it like that at all. I was just trying, because I thought you were trying to, I thought you were saying that about me, or, and then it can turn into this really good conversation if you figure out what people's internal
Hmm.
motivation are, because we don't know what other people are dealing with. Somebody that might seem happy
Yeah.
might be dealing with it. Ozzy, thank you for joining.
It's
Ozzy says,
Ozzy.
love that. Very interesting, and love to hear how open you guys speak about it. Thank you so much. Thanks for
We
joining the
are,
chat.
thank you so much. We are very open. I put myself on at the mercy of the court every day when I click that go button for this live stream, because I come into this now, and it's a subject matter that we start out with, but then it ends up going on a tangent, hopefully, because at some point we're going to talk about something that helps someone, because we both have been through, things in our lives. But me in particular, I talk about my experiences because there's not a whole lot of people that have been through I've, like, I'm not a criminal, but oddly enough, back in the day, about in 2007, I got arrested for driving on a suspended license and did like 3 or 4 weeks in jail. Do you know how many people will go through life and never know what it's like to have your freedom stripped? Do you know what, you know, back in 2002, I had colon cancer. How many people will be touched by cancer? Well, now it's way more because of the standard American diet, but that's a whole nother story. But do you know how many people will never be touched by a terminal disease? So if I can learn something from how I dealt with the aftermath of that, which there is always an aftermath, then why not make these streams? Why not share it? And I was determined to do it every day, whether anybody showed up or not, because eventually somebody's going to get wind of it. And it's like, hey, listen, I know that you're struggling with this. You need to go check this stream out, because that sounds like what you were dealing with.
One of
That's what we want to accomplish. That's what we want to do. We want to be a place where people can come express themselves, and I will be more than happy to have this be an open forum where people can come on the panel, express these things, and we could just have a good old groups therapy session, but that's why we do this.
And I thought, like, from some of the things that I started to deal with anxiety and things, I started Googling it and looking up stuff on YouTube, and it makes you feel not as isolated to know
Yeah.
that other people are dealing with it and other people can overcome it. And then you learn some of the techniques they've used to overcome it.
Yeah,
And
I would
that's
love
why
to
I
hear other
decided to start
techniques that people have used.
talking about it, because I'm like, okay, I could be that person for someone else, and that's, I know, your motivation too. And then I'm only on here because of you. You actually had this show that you came up with this idea, but look at what it spiraled into for me to really help me get a lot of stuff out and help me heal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And I
thank you for
appreciate you
that.
coming. Oh, you're welcome. I thank you for coming on here and sharing your insides with us. You know what I mean? That's what this is all about. You got to be vulnerable. Got to be
Yeah,
vulnerable, because
that's
at the
hard
end of
for
the
me.
day, yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, if I can get you to understand that technically you're not vulnerable,
Hmm.
you are way stronger than what you think. And being vulnerable and putting yourself out there dissipates any fears that you could have. And I'm not even going to go into that right now, but that could be the next stream for Monday. It's like so you would think that, okay, we'll take it back to Alexis when she admitted that she loved Justin, and put herself out there for just a brief moment. She experienced love and joy like she never had in her
And
life.
look what
And
happened. Her
be
dementors
and
came in real
right.
quick.
And lightning fast, because she was uncomfortable with being happy. She had gotten so comfortable with being pissed off and being toxic that that is now her comfort zone. So whenever things are happening that are good, she hurries up and gets back to her comfort zone, which is toxicity. Stop doing that to yourself. And when
Mhm.
it's a natural human response to kind of do that, because our minds automatically want to go to the
Go to the
negative
negative.
to prepare us for the worst. But guess what? If the worst never happens, then you wasted all that time preparing for something that never happened when you could have been happy.
Right. And it's like to say that
So
I'm not vulnerable is funny because I will tell just about anybody everything. I'll talk to the lady at the store about what, I'll talk to her about maybe what I did or a mistake I made. I'm
yeah,
not afraid to admit
putting your
mistakes.
vulnerability
But
out
the
there
the part about the
makes you
feelings and
stronger.
the anxiety, that
Yeah,
that's the hard thing. Some people can be vulnerable in one part of their life but not in another on
yeah,
surface things. And that's the part that you really need. That part that you're uncomfortable being vulnerable about, I'm realizing that's the part I needed to get out. That's the part
yeah.
I needed to be vulnerable about to heal. Oh, that was a tongue twister. Um, I'll read the chats when you get to a point where you're ready for me to as well. There's a bunch
Go
of them.
ahead. Go ahead.
Rose said, I was diagnosed with colon cancer at 17. Wow, I didn't know you had it too. She was talking with you about
I
that.
heard you
Wow.
say that at the other stream, and I was like, wow, wait a minute. We got to have that conversation offline one day, because, or on here, because, yeah, and when I was actually double that age, I was 34 years old when I had it. And the wild thing is, my aunt had it. And the story behind that, real quick, is the fact that, for years, and this pertains to what we initially talked about, when I saw her go down with that, it put a fear in there that I didn't know I had. And even though it was in my subconscious, and even though when she died, it was not like we were super, super close and I went through all of this, but I was like, wow, colon cancer. And I thought it was on the back burner. I never brought up the subject of it again or really thought about it. But then whenever I would hear the word cancer, it would kind of affect me in a certain way. And I would start having these thoughts like, geez, I hope I don't die like that. You know what I mean? And that's messed up. And then I would get off of, because, that was who I was then. Well, little did I know that those little inklings that kept happening were growing and festering. And next thing I know, it wasn't like I was constantly fearing it, but I started having pains in my stomach based on other stressful situations that were happening. And I wouldn't go to a doctor. And people at work thought I was doing cocaine, because what I had went down, dude. I've always been a healthy girl. And I was maybe always hovering around the 170s most of my life. And like I said, I'm athletically built, so you can't really tell as much. But I was always on a thicker side, right? A lot of muscle, right? But I went down to 130 pounds.
Wow.
130. I was skinny. That was skinny for me. And I would just deal with this pain. And and then when it got to a point where I could no longer have a bowel movement, like I literally could not have a bowel movement. I just thought I was losing weight because I was ripping and running at work as a supervisor, training my team and doing this, that, and the third. The guy came up a smoke break. What you doing? You losing a lot of weight, girl. I'm like, no, man, I'm just, I don't eat that much, and I put it off on that. But in the back of my mind, I had this fear that, oh my God, is it happening? Do I have it? No, I'm not gonna go to the doctor. I don't want to know. I don't want to. But when I was forced to, because I couldn't go to the bathroom, when I went in the hospital and they were doing all these biopsies and did colonics and things like that, and couldn't figure out what was causing this blockage, right? And I told the doctor, I said, you might want to check for colon cancer. And he said, And that's when I realized I had in the back of my mind been thinking about it that entire
Mhm.
time, 17 years.
Yeah.
Okay. It was back there and I didn't even know it. And I said, you might want to check for colon cancer. He said, oh no, you're too young. You don't have 17. Jesus, Ro. But he told me I was too young, right? Did the New Jersey just come out there? He told me I was too young to have it, right? And I said, okay, well, I did have an aunt die from it. And okay, we could take a break there and say Big Pharma, they saw that I had a history of cancer and ran with it. You know what I mean? So if elite, what's the girl's name you work with? They are vultures, dude. If they know that's in your history, be careful. Be careful. Because if you don't have it, they might tell you you do. And I'm not going to go there with that right now. But he was like, yeah, yeah, you're too young for that. Well, I finally went under the knife after they couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And I'll never forget this because I remember laying in there right before the operation and looking up into the heavens and saying, "Hey, if this is it, I accepted it. I accepted it." And do you know how much peace I had in that moment? I realized that I might not wake up. I didn't know what was going on. So I said, "Hey, God, come. I'm coming to hang out." You know what I mean? And if that's what's meant for me, then so be it. Thank you for my wonderful life that I've had. And they put me on the table and they said, "We're going to put you under anesthesia and just count backwards from 100." I think I got to 98. I remember saying, wow, is this stuff legal? The last thing I remember hearing was them cracking up profusely, and that was a good thought to go into death with, I'll tell you that, right? But I woke up and everything was okay. He's like, yeah, you're good to go, but guess what, you were right. And I remember in that moment a feeling of fear rushing towards me,
Mhm.
but then immediately I counteracted it with acceptance because it was already
Yeah.
done. There was nothing I could do about it. It had
Right.
already happened. So immediately the fear went away because I
Yeah.
accepted it. And the fear went
Wow.
away. And I said, okay, so what's the next step? Am I dying? Just give it to me straight. Nothing can be worse than what just happened. I had cancer. I was almost dead. It was eating me
All that
alive.
that thing that was worrying you, whether you knew it or not,
Yeah.
subconsciously had actually manifested and said, "Okay, that's that part, that gut punch. You accepted it." That's
Yeah,
wild.
I
That to
accepted
hear
it.
your
And
feelings in that moment.
dude, I accepted it, and I was no longer afraid of it at that moment. And
Yeah.
I asked the doctor, I'm like, okay, so what's the next step? He said, well, luckily we got it all. And it's, we're going to do some tests to make sure it wasn't in your lymph nodes and all of that, but it doesn't seem to have spread anywhere else. So we got it all. And I'd like you to do like 6 months of this mild chemo because we got it. I don't want you to do the hard stuff that takes your hair out. You don't need that, but I want you to do 6 months of chemo. And unfortunately, I ended up, the place that I worked for shut down 3 months in. And I only got 3 months worth, but I'm going to tell you something, and you might be ready. Dawn, I've never been back. I did 3 months and that was it. I never looked back and never went back.
And that was how many years ago?
That was 2002. 20 years
Wow.
later. It never resurfaced because and trust and believe, I didn't realize I had PTSD until about 10, 12 years ago.
And
Well,
sometimes
no,
too with
about
the
6 years ago. I
like you
realized I
said,
had been suffering with it, like the stuff Jen goes through, where she's like, okay, well, if I do this, then the stuff that, dude, with the history of having it's 10 times worse
yeah,
because then it's like, oh my God, is the cancer coming back? What if it comes back? But I wasn't thinking those thoughts. But in the
yeah.
back of my mind, I didn't know my subconscious was. I
Same thing that
wasn't
happened with your
purposely.
aunt earlier was happening with your own diagnosis,
My conscious
but
mind
you
was
didn't know.
fine. But my subconscious mind was dealing with the
Was
fact that,
harping
guess
on it.
what? It hit you. You had it. You almost died. And it's like, I would watch movies, smoke weed, do anything I can. And this was, when we hooked up. I would hug you, and sometimes we'd have hugs, and I would think, what if this is my last time hugging her? What if something happens? What if something happens to her? And I'm like, God damn it, stop thinking like that. Why am I thinking like that? I didn't realize it was the PTSD eating me alive like the cancer did. And then I began to think, I got to get out of my head, dude. What can
Yeah.
I do about this? Because this is driving. See, I told the story where you and I were sitting at Tony's eating pizza, and I simply saw an ambulance drive by and thought the universe is putting that in place because something's getting ready to happen to me.
Dude,
So
I
it's going to
turn
be
the
right
whole
there.
car around. I'll get out of the lane behind an ambulance and turn around and get behind another car. Like, that's how ridiculous I am sometimes with
Now
those
you're
thoughts
going
because
through
I
that.
don't want it
Right.
to manifest. Like, why am I behind the ambulance? Does that tell me something? Will
Right.
that
What
happen
does
to
that
some of my
mean?
loved
You know what
ones?
I mean? Good God, man. It's no joke. PTSD is no freaking joke. Mental health is no joke because you can't, it's a prison that you cannot fucking get out of. And unless you train yourself to be happy in that prison, for the lack of a better way to put that, okay, and accept that prison, that's when the bars will come down. It's like, okay, it is what it is. This is what I'm dealing with. And then you begin to look for things that train you how to overcome that. And some of the stuff that I've been talking about is how I got through it and how I continue to get through, because I still struggle with it. It
Yeah.
never goes away. But I constantly inundate myself with the other stuff so that when I see it coming, I already got something ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
That's
mean?
so
But yeah, we
powerful.
got to talk about that, dude. That's 17. What?
And
Woo! Maybe well, let me know and come on here one day when you have time and tell us the story of that, cuz that's, as a teenager, I don't know how I would have, well, I would have just dealt with it. But good God, man, And Ro, you deal with a lot of physical struggles. So I can only imagine mentally what that does to you on a daily basis, that you cover up and put on a tough skin that most people who meet you might not. We listen to you on these streams. We don't know what you're dealing with, though, because you're so knowledgeable about things and you're so funny. It's just like Jen in that way. She's so funny that you wouldn't realize. Robin Williams, look what he went through, when he found out that he had issues. He took himself out. He's like, no, 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 no. People aren't going to know me like that.
I think
I would
Rose
rather
said it
not be
earlier.
here.
Most comedians deal with, from what she said on her post earlier, that she said a lot of comedians deal with anxiety and depression issues.
Like, why do you think they're comedians? They're trying to laugh to get rid of it. They're trying to
To kind of be
make
in the
others
moment.
laugh to help themselves laugh and
And
get a break from the shit.
Ozzy said that appreciate that, a wonderful idea. I think that was back when we were talking about that's why we come on here and do the stream and things, that it is a good idea to talk about mental health. Janetta said, I think I'm the same way. I think that was when we were talking about being vulnerable, about the wrong things. Like, we can talk about anything, but that's so hard for you to talk about, Dawn. I know, because it makes me kind of well up to even think about it. And I know that it's hard for you. I can see the emotion in you when you talk about it, but it's also helping you as well to get that out, because that's what ultimately happened to help you get past it. Like you said, that once you identified that, took that,
I
that
couldn't hear the
feeling.
word. I couldn't hear. It was like people not saying Voldemort in Harry Potter. I couldn't hear the word cancer. I
Yeah.
couldn't say it. If I heard it on a commercial, I'd turn it off. And
Hmm.
I realized in retrospect,
You were
once
running
again,
from it.
I was running. I was suppressing. Suppressing doesn't help. It doesn't weed it out. It doesn't get rid of it. You got to face it. Yeah, I had it. It could come back. It could very well ultimately kill me. But the fear of that happening, me saying that in this, even in this moment in front of you guys, I'm like, wow, I just said that and I didn't cringe, you
Yeah.
know? And that is the real thing that keeps it from coming, because it's not fun. It's like, oh man, screw you. I
Yeah.
need the fear. I need someone who's got fear and anxiety and stress, because those are vibes that are lighter fluid for me.
Yeah.
That helps me overtake the body because the body is in a vulnerable state, and I can really eat then because the
Yeah.
body is focused on the fear. It's not focusing on immuning, being a protector of you. It is scared. So
Yeah.
I can
I can
really go
really get
crazy.
in. And
Oh
that's why
yeah.
it's
That's
like
why fear is
somebody
dangerous.
it's like when the somebody is when you don't know your door is open, that's what
Yeah.
subconscious fear is about. And when you run from it, if you don't know your door is open, it's just creeping in every
Oh
5
yeah.
minutes.
Fear
Things
is
are just
worse than
rolling in.
cancer.
But once you know it, you can shut the door. But you got to know that the door is open before you can shut it. And that's why
Yeah.
and it can manifest itself with other health issues if you let
Yeah.
that fear in. And if
The
you're not
whole vision
identifying,
thing. What is
it
causing this? Do I have retinal cancer? I thought about that, but I will not go to a doctor. Why? Because one of the things I will not do to myself is become a lab rat and be somebody. And it could save your life. Yeah, but guess what? If I'm still here and I can still make out, then I'm okay. Okay, whatever they're gonna do with me is only gonna give me what, more life? I'm gonna
well,
die anyway at some
sometimes
point. I'm living, so why would I go to find out how to live longer when I'm already living longer? Because what's gonna
inserting
end up
things
happening?
in the
What's gonna end up
system.
happening? Just quick second. What's gonna end up happening is when doctors start getting in your head, it's like the cancer when they okay, here's what's happening, here's what we're seeing, we're seeing some type of abnormality. I remember going to a hospital a few years ago and them seeing some sort of abnormality. I'm like, okay, well, I ain't coming back here because I don't want to know what it is. God damn it, 15 years later I'm still here. Whatever it was, it didn't take me out. I'm not telling you to run from what it is and not getting diagnosed. If you want to, that's fine. For me personally, I know innately that the body was meant to heal itself. And if I don't allow fear and constant bombardment of what it could be, what it looks like, what it is, then my body will do what it needs to do. If I'm meant to be here, my body is going to make me be here. And 20 years later, I'm still freaking here. I don't know what's going on with my vision. I don't know what's causing it. They did an MRI. I did go because I didn't know exactly what was going on. When they did a bunch of MRIs and couldn't find anything, I'm like, you know what? I wonder if I'm doing this mentally to myself. For the longest time, I thought it was stress. And because it hasn't gone away, I realized, okay, maybe it is something physical. But my body will figure it out. Why do you think I'm a vegan? I'm like, I'm going to give you all the tools you need to fix this shit. Because I know if I do that, you will fix it. You are built to do that, and I'm going to have faith in that. There's a saying that says, let your faith be bigger than your fear. I'm going to have faith that you know what you're doing, body. So I'm going to let you do it. And all I have to do is keep my mind right. Because if I don't, that's when whatever it is going to get me. Your mind controls that. You got to keep your mind right. People dismiss the power of what your mental state does with your physical body. They really dismiss it. And I'm telling you, I am living proof that when you get your mental state right, your body will show you what it is fully capable of, and heal it will.
Absolutely. Definitely is all interconnected
Yep.
together, and that
I stay
the
away from hospitals to keep my mind right, and I'm still here.
exactly, and that is a blessing in itself that you can know that about yourself.
You
And
might say, the quality of life. Look, you can't see. Yeah, I can deal with that. I can deal with that better than I can deal with them running around in my head and put me through all kinds of tests and shit, making me fear the worst. So instead of that, I'm going to be like, okay, something's wrong with you. Let's accept it. Okay. Because why is that happening? But are you able to function relatively, and are you okay? Are you in good spirits? Okay, let's run with that. Let's run with that, and hope that ultimately, if you do the right things for your body, that it will take care of itself. So far it has not, but I am happier than I've ever been. I am happier than I have ever been, and I am stress free because I don't allow all that crap in that I know is worse than whatever it is, because I can live with whatever's happening. But when that fear gets in there and that anxiety about whatever's happening surrounds it, you're done. You're done.
Mhm.
So you got to learn how to accept it. Come on, it is that if that's what it is, and that's what it is. And lo and behold, it never comes to you because like, oh well, you're no fun. I don't
As
know
you
how many
said.
times the Grim Reaper has probably walked away from me. Ah, screw you.
Mhm.
I want you to be scared of me. That way I can get in and get you quicker. I'm going to get you eventually, but I can get you quicker if you're scared. You going to be scared for me today? No.
Mhm.
No, I'm not.
Absolutely.
I feel like
Amen.
hanging out here a little bit longer. So, no, I'm not letting that part in because I know that's when I'm done. So, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what this stream is for, though. I'm not going to apologize. That's what the hell this stream for, to vent, to get these things out, to help you guys, adopt some of these practices and thought patterns so that you can help yourself do the same things that I do to myself on a daily basis so I can hang out until it is time, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, that is
Anything
so
else needs to be
powerful.
read?
Thank you for sharing that intimate details of not only what you went through, but how you are have evolved, I'll say, to overcome it because it's a process, like you said. For the first, several years, you were just, probably happy that it was over. You've told me, and
That's it.
were like running on adrenaline, and
Yeah.
then didn't
Woo! Beat
know.
that, dodge that bullet, and not realizing that, in the back of my mind, that holy shit, I almost died. I
You
was
didn't know
literally
that door
dying.
was open, like, trying to creep in after a while that adrenaline wore off and you started to get older, which, like we said, and then if you were going through where I'm at now with the menopause creeping up at the same time as you were dealing with the PTSD, and we had this revelation, then I'm gonna read the comments. I remember having this revelation with you on one of the other streams just to speak from a personal PTSD just from hearing that from you that happened to you, because like you said, how close we are and how my worries were my worries were really starting to surface about not only not so much my own immortality because
Yeah.
it was more or less about other people. Like I worry about other people, and that is something that was creeping in my mind that I didn't even realize, not only losing my grandmother to cancer, but the fact that you had it before and trying to make sure that what I was doing was keeping on a positive note because thoughts are powerful and trying to I had that epiphany that probably was playing a part into my own anxiety and fear worrying
Yeah.
about you as
Yeah.
well. So it kind of it's all interconnected. PTSD can be anything.
Dude, I
Yours
did the
was
same
about
thing.
almost
When
dying of
you dropped a
cancer
lot of the weight that you dropped from being a vegan, oh, don't think I didn't have a few bad days behind it, behind closed doors. I just didn't want you to see it. Like, is she, please let that, because our lives tend to mirror each other. We were raised the same way, and a lot of things that happen in my life tend to happen. And I'm like, God, don't let that be one of them. I
because one of
can't,
the
I can't,
things that
I'm like, I
I
can't deal with that. Don't take her from me, please, And
you
then I realized it's like, you're doing it.
mhm.
You're doing it. Don't
And plus there
manifest
was
the
like
shit.
logically there was a reason as well. Like in your case it doesn't sound like you might have been doing much differently, but in my case I went away from the standard American diet and was eating a salad every night. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
honey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay because I'm eating really good. That's why my weight's going
Right.
down. And it went down not
But you know what? You
drastically
know what,
either.
Jen? You know what probably helped me kind of go down that road? Because I saw you. I saw you go from eating, we would go to Outback or we'd go to Chipotle. I saw you go from that to eating nothing throughout the day and only eating the set. I was your living proof because I remember Kenny, you need to eat something, and after a while, them saying that started working on me.
Mhm.
That's what I mean by the inundation, the inadvertent inundation.
Doctor is saying
And I'm like,
something.
okay, wait a minute. Is she sick? Is she all right? Is she all right? Nah, she's all right? She doesn't seem like she's
That
sick. She's
got
not
into
acting
your
sick.
head,
It
right?
got into my head. And I'm like, okay, no, 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 no. You have watched her go from eating to not eating. You have watched her go strictly vegan. You've watched what she did to cause that.
I
Okay.
think
And here you are years later. So,
I was saying that to as well earlier. Of course, I had to put that plug in there. I typed it in the comments, but that's one of the best things you can do going away from the mental part of it, but kind of mental because I feel like if you have a fear of something, the more things logically, just like listening to positive affirmations and positive thoughts and putting positivity and maybe not getting caught up in the system and hearing the doctors tell you the absolute worst, or if they do, just don't
yeah.
listen and put Google things, people that have beat this, and how to heal yourself and prevent yourself from having cancer. If that's a fear, which it is, and I didn't even know it was, but if it is, like having a diet that is eliminating meat and dairy can is a great preventative way to prevent cancer, and you can still it prevents diabetes. It reverses it. So that's part of my mental healing is to put the right stuff in my body that and not
Yeah.
all the right stuff. I'm sure I eat more fries than I should, but doing little things for yourself, make yourself have to worry as much if you do have a fear of
When you
that
were
can help
going
you
through
feel
that situation a couple years ago where you started vomiting, out of nowhere, and it was like, wow, what's causing that? And then you'd go for a little bit, like maybe a month or so, and then all of a sudden it would happen again one day. And it's like, whoa, I remember being scared shitless. I'm like, Jen, you might be sick,
that was probably
like
about 6 months before I went completely plant-based, and I have
it
not
was.
been
It
sick at
was. I
all.
started
A
her drinking
cold, flu,
moringa.
nothing. And I started
I
drinking the
started her
moringa then.
drinking moringa. I said that very day. I remember because again, you're always my trigger. Um, I go back to when I was having that panic attack, and when I looked at you that day, and I saw the fear in your eyes. It broke my heart because I know you to be so strong, but I saw where that was fucking with your head and you were like, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? And for once, you did not have the answers. And all I could think of was, I know what she's feeling. I know what she's feeling. And I love her so much. I don't want her to feel that. I don't want that scaredness in her like that, because that's not cool. And I'll never forget that day. I said, Jen, do me a favor. Because I kept trying to get her to drink it and she wouldn't drink.
I'm stubborn.
Please, please drink the moringa with me. I've been drinking it every day for a year now. I haven't been had a cold or anything. Please drink the moringa with me. And she started drinking it. And
But
all of a sudden
you
the
said
vomiting
something.
stopped and then she went vegan 6 months later and added even more arsenal to it.
You said
You
something
go.
that reminded me to say this too because you said you were trying to tell me to drink it, but until I saw that you hadn't been sick in 3 years, that's what
Yeah.
made me really do it. And you said the same thing when you saw that I lost weight, I had all this energy, my skin was clearing up,
I'm
and
a vegan now.
I was like, I never
I'm
pressured you
sold.
to do that. I just basically would
Yeah.
go about my business. I could sit right next to her eating crab cake or whatever. It didn't bother me because I was so motivated with my journey and like I had
Yeah.
a lot of reasons behind it to
You
like
didn't know what was
because I
going on. Call it
animals
what it
and
is. You were
everything.
scared.
That at that point my
She
health.
won't admit it, y'all.
Yeah, well, I think maybe I was a little bit scared, but that
You
wasn't
were
my.
scared shitless.
But I didn't do this because I was scared of that, is what I'm saying. I didn't go vegan because of that. Maybe
Yeah.
subconsciously I wanted to improve my health, but I
Yeah.
did it to, you know what I mean? That was something that came into your mind probably faster than mine because of what you had dealt with before.
Yep. No doubt. I
I
admit
didn't
it.
really think, I'm like, I'm young, I'm not sick, and that has changed now because now I'm seeing like, wait a minute, I'm not young, I'm old. If something happens, what the heck's going on with me? But
But
that's why I
that's
say
the cool
if
thing about Gen
you
X,
give that
man. We're
a
young.
chance and you completely get off dairy and meat, that can in fact reverse and heal things. It really can.
It
Um,
can, but you got to also know it.
you have to
And
know it.
you
I
can be
It
that type of
resonates with me.
person. Right. You can be that type of person, but if the mind ain't right, it don't matter how good you eat, it will still creep in. Sicknesses will still creep in, even with a perfect body, if the mind's not right. It
Exactly,
goes
which is
hand in
why
hand.
I am so happy to be doing this and focusing on the mind right now, because I
Yeah,
think I've done a lot of the of good things for my body, but it doesn't help
you
the
have.
mind. It helps me feel like more energy and maybe more
Mm-hmm.
focused and positive, but
Right.
fear doesn't care what you eat sometimes. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
pretty
It's
good.
like that's gonna get in there, so you have to find other ways, just like maybe I know that cabbage can give me good antioxidants. What is that cabbage for my mind that I can put in there is what I'm getting from these
Ooh,
streams, the
that's good.
morsels that I can put in my mind to help me get
Mental
through not
morsels.
thinking something's bad's gonna happen. Because if you spend so much time thinking something bad's gonna happen and trying to figure out what this particular thing you can do, what I gotta, do this, and this, and like a lot of people with OCD deal with, they feel like, okay, if I do this particular thing, I'm putting things on a good vibe. It's a sense of control. We're always trying to figure out how to have control over our own fear.
When really is an illusion.
It is,
Control
and
isn't the only thing you
control
can
is
control is your
accepting it.
thoughts.
You've What we've came up with here. Control is, I guess, accepting it and
Yep.
then making sure that you are
You're
then
taking back your power when you
taking back
accept.
the power. You have the control, but you don't feel in control of it at certain points in time. And
Yeah,
that's
you
how
can't
do we get
control what
that control?
happens inside your body. All you can do is what you can do, which
Mhm.
is, doing it, giving your body the proper nutrients and things that it needs. And, yeah, we can make the argument about being vegan because it's scientifically and medically proven that eating flesh is not good for the human body. Eating byproducts of flesh, which would be dairy products, is not good. The human body was not meant to ingest it or digest it. So, yeah, knowing that physically you can now prevent cancer and possibly get rid of it if you completely revamp your diet. But get that mental
Get
healing.
that mental and believe it, is the
Yes,
part.
know it.
Well, thanks
Know it.
everybody also on the comments. I know
I saw
Ozzy.
Ozzy said preach.
Yes, I read that
hey,
earlier
I'm
too.
hey, I'm
He
just
said,
telling my
Ozzy
story.
said, "Love that, very interesting," and loved and earlier how open you are to speak about it. But thank you for speaking about it. You
Thanks for
know what I mean,
listening.
as well, and Ro for sharing everything, and Janetta. I'm just gonna run through these real quick because I
Okay.
said we were gonna say one thing and then read the comments, and I forgot we said like 100. But I love it. I
Thank you
love
for
to hear
doing that,
everything.
by the way. I appreciate you so much. If I could read them, I would, but
Oh, I
thank you,
know. That's
honey.
why I do it. It makes me feel like I'm useful.
I know
Uh,
Road does that too. Thank you guys.
mhm.
My babies.
Plus, I get paid like $5 a comment, right? Oh, where did I hear that? Did I not see that
You
memo?
weren't supposed to say that on the air.
Oh, darn. All right. Well, at least maybe I can get a coffee out of it. I've had intestinal issues since I was 7. I had an intestinal blockage that put me in
Who's
the
this, Ro?
hospital. Yes.
Okay.
Rose said they decided to do a colonoscopy because of the blockage, and that's when they found it. I was at a teaching hospital too, so I was like a lab rat
Wow.
because they never had seen someone so young.
Yeah.
We miss Chadwick Boseman, but I praise him for bringing colon cancer in young people to the forefront, and that it's not an over 50 problem only, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you get to like people try to say, oh, you have to, watch what you eat when you get over 40 or over 50. If you can start early and get yourself on a healthy vibe, it's
Yeah.
not, things happen to everybody at all age. And anxiety, I'm telling you, I see it on the groups and the like fear and things. You can look out for it in your kids too, to Rose point, because there are
Yeah.
kids that are, maybe 4 years old that start dealing with this, and when they go to preschool environment, like it's a real thing to watch out for just as much as, oh, is he coughing.
That's one of the reasons I want to reconnect with my daughter because I want to make sure that if something touches her in that way, or my granddaughter, that she has a soldier in this fight that can
Hmm.
help her get through that if it happens to touch her. You know what I'm saying? So That's another reason I want to connect with her so bad, and I will. It'll happen at some point.
Yes, it will. I do feel if we feel like a positive outcome of that and keep manifesting that and the things that you're doing by being vulnerable about it, um, speaking of it from your perspective is going to help in that situation too.
Yeah,
I do believe it, and I'm praying for that. Um, and Rose said, I'm already
thank
there,
you.
Jen. Just haven't tried the raw veggies yet because I'm still afraid of having the Crohn's flare up. I know you're doing really, really good.
Yeah, you are.
We're so proud of you. And that's when Ozzy said, preach. And he said, I feel like I can learn a lot of from these streams. So
Please
thank you,
share them,
and
Ozzy.
come in
Please
and add
share them.
to it, if you want, and I appreciate that, it helps us to know that, even though people are listening and they may not even be commenting, you might not wanna even put yourself out there, that's fine too if you're just listening, but when you do comment and say things like that, it's so, like it makes me feel so good to know that I have opened up, because Dawn has helped me and open up and talk about some things that I'm afraid of and have realized that wow, when you said that you have PTSD from having cancer, then I have PTSD possibly from losing someone to cancer and
You
the
do.
fear of losing you, and that when that clicked, it's like, okay, I see where these things are coming from, where my
Yeah.
fears come in. But if I'm spending all my time, like you said before, fearing something, I'm not enjoying the
You're
moments we're
not
in.
having your moment.
That's
You're
the
not
part we need to
living.
do. We need to live in the moment, and it's easy to say that, but it's starting to really resonate with me. Like, when I heard Power of Now that first time when you played it, I didn't need
Yeah.
that. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Okay, yeah, live in the moment. I'm already in the moment," I was like,
Right,
just,
right, right.
old laid back Jen in the moment. Now that I need it, it's like I'm listening to it in a different way, and I'm hearing things that you're saying in a different way, and I'm so, like, sorry that you had to deal with that or have had to deal with that. But the fact is so
You know
inspiring
why?
that
Because
you
you're going
handle
through it.
it in such a positive way and that you have taken things that have happened to you and have changed them into something positive and the fact that you were able to overcome it. And I talked about the thing with the being legally blind and the way that you figure out what you can do and not what you can't do. It inspires me whenever I'm dealing with something to figure out what I can do, and that's what you can do. And you have to
Yeah.
be like, have give yourself grace because we're not perfect, as much as we want to be or try to
Nor
be.
will we ever be.
Things
Nor will
that
we ever be.
we're going through make us who we are and make us real. And if we say that to somebody else who's going through it, they don't feel so isolated, you
Okay,
know.
yeah. See, that's the purpose of this stream, you know? That's why I wanted to make these streams because I know that there are people out there suffering with PTSD and I know there are people out there that have these innate fears that they can't seem to shake or get rid of. And if you and I telling our story can help these people get through, then every day like clockwork I'll be on here and you'll be on here with me. You know what I mean? We will be on here telling our story and offering ourselves to people because that's what has gone from the world and needs to come back. You know, you can be corny. What the world needs now is like, yeah, but it does. It really does. It needs us to love each other again and stop. It's not so much kumbaya as it's survival. Okay, that's how we are going to survive if we're to survive at all. You know what I mean? So I'm so glad. And if this has helped you and helping you, if you're on the replay, share this, get that link, hit the like button, get that link and share it with other people, not because I want the channel to grow, but because I want to help somebody get out of their freaking head.
You started singing that song, and just to add a little bit of humor to the end, I always think about row, and I'm always like, row, row, row your boat gently down the street. Life is but a stream. I was thinking like, like a live stream.
Life
But
is but a live stream.
yeah, I was just saying to her, thank you for sharing, and I'm so happy that you've healed and that you're on your healing journey and sharing that with us, and
Yes.
that you're doing even positive things, for your body and your mind. And just thank you you for everything you share with us. And Ozzy, your positive encouragement and being here is really added a lot to the stream.
I'm
And
glad it's helping you, Ozzy.
is
I'm
like
glad.
Janetta, I'm so glad that we, met because and I've shared the stream with you because I noticed you are such that is awesome to know that that supporter is here every time we come on. It's like we look out for you. So we're happy
Love
if
you,
anything
Janetta.
you're saying is helping you and everybody else if you're listening. I know Ashley can chime in when she can. She may be
Yeah.
listening and just not able to comment.
Yep.
Um, oh gosh, there's just so many people, but you guys know who you are.
And
But
I'll tell you something, and I can say this now, but if it does resurface or if it does end up taking me out, at least if I get enough of these streams out, it will have prolonged my life enough that you guys will have gotten out of it what I needed you to get out of it. Olivia Newton-John, it ultimately came for her, but she had the same mindset I did. So she knew. So I accept the fact that I'm only going to hold it off for so long if that is my fate. But see, even now, there is in my root chakra, there's a fear that's welling up about that just in saying it. But as I'm saying it and verbalizing it and putting it out there, I'm accepting it. And yeah, now it's dissipating. It works. I am living proof that that shit works. Doxy also has a cleansing chakra meditation on his channel too. And I'll make sure that I didn't put it in, but I will go back after the stream and put the link to Doxy meditations. I'm telling you that I got to try to find a way to contact that guy because his streams saved my life,
hmm
you know. But do you have anything else you want to add, Jen?
yes, I just want to say thank you for being so inspiring. And Janetta said, "Thank you
You are
guys for this.
welcome.
I really needed this."
We need
And
you.
I think we needed this too. I know, that it's so
Yeah.
it's like you're spending your now feeling fulfilled, even you know that you're putting this out there, and I see that emotion in you, and I'm just so happy to have to have heard just been here. Like I'm just happy. I don't know. I just am so happy to see you so happy and that inspiring to others.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I do go out, I'm gonna go out happy.
You
I'm
ain't
gonna go
going
out
nowhere.
fulfilled. Not right now, but I don't have any plans
You
on
ain't
it
going
right
nowhere
now.
ever. Look at you. You still look like you're 18.
But yeah, it feels good to help. It feels good to help and to be a beacon, and like I said, I mean that, a soldier. And they, in The Secret, they say, don't focus on the thing itself. Well, I believe in don't focus on the fear of the thing. I want to be able to focus on anything I want without a fear of it, because it's the fear that makes it so bad and makes it effective. So when you take the wind out of the sails, then you can talk about anything you want. You can hear any word you need to hear, and it's not going to affect you because you have thoroughly disciplined yourself to take it in just like a gut punch and keep coming back just like Rocky did. That's why Apollo couldn't defeat him, because he took everything he had, his best punches, took everything and came back and said, now what?
Yeah. And
That's
life
what you got to do.
is like the
To
boiling water.
fear.
Fear is the boiling water. You are that coffee bean that doesn't change in that boiling water, but wait makes it coffee.
Yeah,
I
man.
love your Rocky analogy. I had to get my coffee one in there because I had that epiphany today.
Why
You
do you
know,
think I watched Rocky
I'm
so
not the
much,
carrot
Jen?
anymore. I'm not gonna just melt and get all soft, and I'm
Yeah.
not that egg that's gonna put that tough exterior up when the water is getting boiling and the fear is coming on me. I'm not gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna do this, 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 and this to prevent it, and I'm gonna just put a shell up. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be the egg but be all mushy inside. I'm gonna be the coffee bean. Okay, I get it. That's
Yeah.
fear. That's life. Things might happen, they might not, but it doesn't matter because I am in a positive space and I am living in the
Yeah.
moment and I
What's
am now
worse
putting
is me
coffee in the world.
living like life is a bully. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like,
I
what
don't want to
you,
fight it either. It is what it
yeah,
is.
when
We have
life
to just
becomes a
accept it.
bully, That's when it's not fun to live. And I
Yeah,
don't
it's
want to
like you're
be here and
fighting
not
every
be having
day.
fun. Yeah, man. You
We don't
start
need to
you
fight to be
oh
happy.
God,
We are happy.
what am I gonna think today? What thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings am I gonna have today? I know, girl. I've been there. I
Yeah.
know. I know.
Well,
It's like, what the hell,
it's
what's
like I
today
don't
gonna be
feel
like?
like
Is
dealing
this
with
gonna be a
that.
good day, or is it gonna be a day where I'm dreading everything? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like I got tired. You get tired of it.
Yeah, you
And
do.
when you get tired of it, that's when you will do something to change it. And I did, and hopefully what I did to help myself and I'm relaying to you guys, and what Jen is relaying helps you guys too. Ultimately take your power back.
Mhm.
Take your power back. Live your life and enjoy living your life. And you can't do that with fear. Can't do it with fear. I'd rather be sick than scared.
Yeah.
How about that shit? I would rather be sick than scared. At least I know what I'm dealing with. And with
So
that being
powerful. I'm
said,
gonna
if
need a
you don't
moment.
have anything else, I'm gonna
No, I'm good.
go. I love you.
Love you.
Janae, man. I watched Rocky so many times, and that is one of my places that I go if I'm wanting to just get Rocky. Shout out to Sylvester Stallone for making those movies, because Rocky is so motivational. It's like it's deeper than just some old fighting. It's don't make me cry, Jen. It is, him being resilient. That's what I take from that movie. It's more than just a movie. It's him being resilient. And I always want to be resilient. I always want to stare sickness, mental illness, all of that in the face and say, fuck you. You're not going to get me. I'm me and you're you. Stay over there. No, thank you. You know? So that being said, I think I watch Rocky. I love you guys. I love you, and I want you to
Love
be
you all,
well. I want you to be
and we
well.
love you. Thank you. Let's be well together.
Yes.
I just wanna